Hey everybody, welcome to the Noir Bar. Ooh, and look at all the coins splashing in the martini glass to begin with. Yay! And joining me here, right up at the bar, none other than Chaos Eve. How you doing tonight, Eve?
I'm doing all right. About yourself?
Oh, I'm doing okay. All things considered, I'm doing pretty well.
It's good. It's good. I heard about your the way those rough men tried to throw you down a flight of stairs to finally put you out of business, but you aren't gonna let them.
No, I'm gonna take a licking and keep on ticking. I'm fine.
This gentleman right here, folks, is just too tough to die.
Yeah, I don't care what hoods the fuzz call on me. I got too much moxie.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Dashboard is still running. How functional is like bang, 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 open up.
That's what I said. Now, Mr. Functional, that's no way to behave in such a fine, upstanding establishment such as this.
I absolutely need a third screen, man. It's tough to stream this way if you don't have a third screen. Oh, that's nice. Right off the bat, Happy Dude donated. Thank you. Get better, son, dude. This is all I can afford at the moment, but the hours of banter on Discord is worth more than $1, so expect more when I can afford it. All donations are appreciated. Question. Especially after I found out that, Eve, check this out. You know how much of my very brief hospital stay is going to be covered by my healthcare plan?
None of it.
No. About 60%.
No.
Yeah. So the X-ray, when they X-rayed my skull, that's covered. The neurological tests, on the other hand, are not covered. You know what comprise the neurological tests?
I couldn't begin to guess.
The doctor doing things like follow this pen, like with your eyes. You know, yeah, like a complete battery of things along those lines. Yes, the so-called neurological testing is what came up, and nope, that's not covered because that's he's a neurological specialist, and that's specialist stuff, so therefore not covered.
Let me get this straight.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't see, but I'm doing air quotes with my fingers here.
Okay.
Because he's a specialist.
Right.
When he waves the pen in front of your eyes and say, follow the pen with your eyes, it's some kind of special thing.
That is exactly right. So, like, let's say a normal emergency room doctor, a general practitioner, were to have done that same battery of tests, it wouldn't have been specialist care. But because he was a specialist, it is specialist care. Ergo, not covered.
Now I gotta ask, can anybody out there in chat do calligraphy and draw me up a nice little piece of paper that says I have a diploma or some such, that I'm a specialist in neurology? I can wave a pen in front of people's faces all day and make bukus of money.
Bukus of money.
Bukus of money.
Actually, Angela says, hey, Polly, I have a friend who plays a really mean bass guitar and is hot at jazz. Let me know. I could talk him in to see if he might want to record some stuff for you for a deal. That might be something, like that actually might be something, Angela. I don't know. Hit me up on DM. I don't know if you're on Twitter or if I follow you. I think my DMs are closed now after that top women of the MCU incident.
She's just to be able to at least message you and be like, hey.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, hit me up. I was also thinking of pimping out my friendship with Mustafa and be like, hey, man, you're black. Can you play a smooth bass line?
Mustafa would do it for you. He's done it for me a couple times.
Just real quick, so everyone knows I'm not a racist. You know, it's a joke from South Park, right? It is. Cartman says the token. Go into your basement, get your bass guitar, and you're going to be our bass guy. And he goes, I don't have a bass guitar. And he's like, Token, you're black. You have a bass guitar. And Token shows up later on, and he's like, I don't know where this came from, but I went down in the basement. Sure enough, there's a bass guitar down there. And you just see Cartman like shake his head at him like, yeah. And he goes, all right, hit me out with a smooth bass line. He's like, I don't know how to play bass. And he's like, Token, we've been through this. And all of a sudden, Token just starts playing with this big shocked look on his face. Like, how the hell do I know how to play bass? So bad. But I mean, that's all I need for the background is just jazz, yes, but leaning towards the more bluesy end. Because, you know, nighttime cabaret. What I don't want Starbucks jazz. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that real light, easy, boring elevator music jazz. That's what I'm trying to avoid. I want something a little somber, little late night, perhaps a little sexy, a little bluesy, you know.
Little sexy and bluesy. I see what you mean.
Yes. Did I ghost bear ass? How's my... Tylenol is... I'm going to assume that it's doing its job, and I'd feel worse without it. The bonus, Eve, is that I did get Percocet. Yay!
Are you happy now?
Yes. I mean,
you have illicit drugs.
Licit. They're licit.
They're licit now. Yes.
Yes, not illicit. I got my drugs perfectly licitly. It's fine.
I think your chat box is just slightly too high because it's cutting off some of the chat at the bottom.
Yeah, remember I was telling... yeah, I'll adjust it here. Remember I was telling you that I had to recapture chat last time I did one of these streams? Yeah, I must not have reshaped it properly.
I think it just needs to be slid up a little bit. Or not entirely just that, but, you know.
Yeah, I'll do a readjustment on it real quick.
So does it actually drop things in the martini glass when you get Streamlabs donations?
Yes, it did. That's why I just saw the coins drop, so I popped over to my Streamlabs, and sure enough, there's New Fate. Thank you very much, New Fate, with a donation saying, this is why the bartender is not supposed to sample the stash. Yeah. You know, I would... Eve, did you hear the story of how this happened?
The entire story, no.
So, yeah, by the way, thank you again, New Fate. It's much appreciated. Especially with new fucking medical bills from the specialist who waved a pen in my face. So I'm laying there on the upper floor in the bed, and I'm thirsty as hell. And this girl, my friend, she's got... I noticed she had all kinds of water bottles and sodas and shit in the fridge, and I'm thinking, I really want those. You know, I'm sitting there for laying there for half an hour thinking, I'm going to go get a couple of bottles of water. It's going to be so cold. It's going to be so tasty. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? I could just get a drink from the bathroom sink, but that's just as far away, really. And I didn't really think the stairs are going to be that big of a hurdle to get over. I turned out I was right. But so I get up slowly. The room is spinning because I'm in the middle of a big vertigo spell and I had just been vomiting. Shuffle my way over to the stairs. I grab a hold of the railing and slowly start to walk down. I missed the first step completely because I thought it was closer and it actually was. And slipped and started to go down. I had a hold of the railing though, because I'm not an idiot. I tell Monkey, you need to hold on to the wall or hold on to the railing. That's why you keep falling. And he's like, stairs too narrow for railings and such. I'm like, okay, but I'm going to practice what I preach. Hold on to the railing when I'm dizzy. I started to fall and grabbed it. The railing came right out of the fucking wall. It's not that I'm a big fat dude. I only weigh 210. I found out later after the hospital came back and took a look at it. The mounting for the railing was just screwed into the drywall. It wasn't screwed into a stud.
Oh.
So it's not like I ripped the railing like and all of its mountings right out of the wall. It's just the topmost one wasn't screwed into a stud. And it's one of them wood, basic wood railings, handrails. So like it when I pulled on it, to stop myself from falling, it ripped out that top one and flexed, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And boom, 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 all the way down, like movie action sequence all the way down, and smashed my head at the bottom of the stairs on the, what do you call it? The landing? Yeah, the landing. Nice name for it. It's exactly what happened. Is all hard tile. Hard, thick, porcelain-like fucking tile, and that's what my head landed into. And at some point on the way down, I don't know when, I twisted my knee pretty fucking awful.
Mm.
But you know what the bad part was? Like, I didn't actually lose consciousness, but I, just like a cartoon, I saw stars. It was just like an explosion of sparks when I hit that tile in front of my field of vision. It was just blinding brightness of like, wow, that really fucking hurt. And I'm laying there dizzy, and I'm like, oh God, that was awful. That was so awful. And she was at work. This is just me in her house by myself, right? I'm like, okay, I can't just lay here in this like crumpled, horrible mess. The couch is right over there. Okay. So I went on all threes, not fours, because my knee is like twisted and destroyed. I couldn't put my knee against the ground and crawl on all fours like you would. So try and picture how bad of a scene this was. Here's Polly dizzy, with vertigo, nauseous, just having thrown up, just went down a flight of fucking stairs, smashed his head into a bunch of fucking tile at near terminal velocity, and now he's shuffle hopping on two hands and one knee over to a fucking couch. It was a bad scene. It would, kind of crawled, half rolled myself up on the couch, and I didn't move for like the next 2 hours. I was like, oh Lord, take me now. It was bad. So there's the full story for you, Eve.
Wow. So, I don't think I'm the only one that took away from that. Polly's got a girlfriend.
No, lady friend. No, just
Oh, honey, you were over at her house when she wasn't there, and she just left you in her house with the door unlocked? Yeah, no.
Well, I don't know if the door was unlocked. I didn't check. It might have been locked.
Well, I would hope it's unlocked if you're inside the house.
Well, why would you hope it was unlocked? Like, roaming murderers might come in and get me. Why wouldn't she lock her own door when she's leaving to go to work?
I mean, that's true, but like you weren't locked in.
Locked? What are you suggesting? Like a Jack Cochran style, like the way he locks Asians up in his basement, locked in?
Well, maybe. Only a girlfriend if she knew he was there, says Function. Oh my.
So then she came home and was like, oh my God, what happened? And who are you? And what are you doing in my home?
Johnny says, so Polly almost got murdered by a woman. That's why I'm single, Dad.
Why don't you have a girlfriend? Well, there's this guy I know online, and he seems pretty stable and all. But, like, this woman tried to kill him, and, like, women are dangerous, Dad. I don't think I want to be in a relationship.
Oh, Monkey wants to point out, he says, no, I have a railing. It doesn't stop me. Sometimes it just spins me, which makes it worse. I hold that railing like my life depends on it.
Was the person who built your house, the framer, smart enough to actually screw the mountings into a stud? You have no idea how upset I am over that. You know how hard it is to find a stud in a wall, Eve?
It's impossible, apparently.
You just do that. You just knock along until the knock noise changes. Yes, they have fancy devices, electronics that you slide along, a stud detector, but you don't even need it. You could just put your fucking knuckle find it. I have done this before. I've screwed things into the wall that were heavy. You find a fucking stud. You're looking at 12 or 18-inch centers. I mean, When I was telling this story last night, Bearing was in chat, right? The thing that gets him to, like, he's kind of lurking. He's not saying anything. One of the first things he says is, who the fuck mounts a hand railing just into the drywall? And I'm like, exactly. It's the kind of thing that would upset a red-blooded male. You know that this is just not... Prospero got mad as hell. Talking about, like, how are you not going to hook something up into something that's actually load-bearing? No kidding.
Which someone better clip what? The whole rant or which part? She's
Becca's like, somebody clip that. I'm concerned about what is gonna get clipped. I don't know, man. When people talk about clipping things, I feel completely differently now after watching one, how Trump's been treated, because they'll do this to the president when everything's recorded. How do you think they're gonna do me? And if you've ever listened to any of the Ploy Jr. videos over on Far's channel, oh yeah, watch how she does me. Oh, god damn it. Like the whole cranberries ain't gay thing, that was totally taken out of context. Just awful. Pop-Tart was about to make a joke about screwing something heavy into a wall.
I saw that and it totally came into my mind of like, oh my. Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, I was saying this earlier to Eve. So many things have been taken as sexual innuendo now that you can't say nothing no more. I was like half a moment away from saying to you, okay, I hit my head really hard. And when you hit your head hard, you get a big goose egg, and I still got one. It's gone down a lot thanks to like an ice pack and the steroidal prescription that I got and stuff. But that's really more for brain swelling or inside the skull swelling than it is the outside of my head. Anyway, but it's throbbing, right? And I was half a moment away from saying to Eve, "Hey Eve, my head is throbbing." And they're just going, oh shit, Polly's got a hard on, or whatever. You can't say nothing no more without people taking it. Just, y'all are sick.
Mr. Dub, I am a lady.
I did say
I totally would have probably pounced on that.
Oh shit, Eve would have pounced on the throbbing head. Oh shit. See, people are sick.
As long as it's yours, yeah.
Yeah. People got sex on the brain, man. There's no getting away from it. Everything's an innuendo.
It's not just you, Pop-Tart. It's everybody, is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. But especially Pop-Tart, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pop-Tart's fun to be pervy and flirty with, so.
I'm gonna go over to Noir Bar and see how badly we've managed to take over their shitty little hashtag.
Wait, somebody else has the hashtag Noir Bar?
Yeah, there's two things that I've noticed. People that are doing pulp noir fiction readings at different, like their little literary group, their little book club. You know what I mean? And they'll do hashtag Noir Bar. We're going to have a noir night where we're going to read Raymond Chandler stories or whatever the hell, Mike Hammer. And they'll go hashtag Noir Bar. The other of them are people that have what I'm going to call faux noir bars. They're not cool like this one. You see this one, everything is golden hue and, you know, low jazz, and it's got a certain vibe. It's cool. It's got a badass, full of swagger bartender like myself. These places, no, just everything inside is black and glassy and trendy as fuck. They've got, you know, $32 martinis for sale, that kind of bullshit. And there's one over in the UK that's actually called Noir Bar. And I love the idea that we've taken over their stupid little hashtag. And unlike Monkey, where he has, I guess, a laudable concern that, what band is it? What boy band is it? One Direction. That MITAM, hashtag MITAM, was originally a One Direction hashtag. And there's still teenage fans of that group showing up there, so Monkey doesn't want things to get too lewd. No, I'm fine with things getting lewd at hashtag Noir Bar. Go ahead and fuck with them. I'd love to think that people are showing up at this bar, this trendy ass bar over in the UK, and assuming that the place is going to be all red pilled and full of spicy shit posting jokesters and stuff. All right, let's check. What are you up to over there, Eve? After 9 hours of gaming today, was it? Game streaming?
8.5.
You hear that, chat? She game streamed for 8.5 hours today over on her channel. Wild.
Yeah, it kind of got out of hand.
Was it? And it was the same game the whole time, right?
No, it was actually 2 different games. The first, roughly 4 hours, it was Dead by Daylight, and then the last 4 hours or so, it was a game called Dead Frontier. One was running away from serial killer monsters who are trying to murder you, and the other was killing zombies in a post-apocalyptic world. So,
John here over on the Noir Bar hashtag and Monkey in the Morning. It has a picture of a monkey and an otter staring at each other. Oh yeah. Do you love how the anti-vaccine people are trying to associate themselves with the civil rights activists?
I have not.
Yep. Yeah. Because they're fighting for their personal liberties and freedoms and so forth. So they're just like Martin Luther King.
What?
Mm-hmm. You don't like that idea? Is that what I'm gathering?
They're just like Martin Luther King.
You don't think so? In the way that they're fighting for their children to have polio? It's so brave.
I'm just... I'm trying to find words to express my thoughts on this matter, but I don't think there are enough words in the English dictionary for me to do so. To express my exasperation and disgust with that statement. I think I'm done with the internet for the rest of eternity. I think I'm just gonna log off and never come back now. Does that sound like a good idea?
No, it doesn't. Because if you log off, and then it's just the nut bars left. See, we can't leave. We got to stay and fight. That's my theory.
Exactly. That's about where I'm at. It didn't break Eve. It's just Eve is trying to find the words to express this, and it's just that's not strong enough of a term. Insanity isn't strong enough of a term. Fucking stupid isn't strong enough of a term. There's not enough words to say, hey, bitch, don't you leave me.
You're right.
You have my phone number, dear. But I can never lose you, even if I wanted to. So, got to dilute the stupid. You're right in a sense, but there's just always going to be stupid there. Even if we leave the internet, there'll be stupid in real life. It'll just be less concentrated, in my opinion. But what?
Sorry. No, every now and then when I read a story headline, just the headline alone is the entire joke. Woman charged with serving meth-laced bean dip.
Meth-laced bean dip.
What? You've never had it? Oh my god. What's going on over wherever you live with your
You
hoity-toity
know,
ways?
it's on my bucket list, but I just haven't got around to it.
Meth-laced bean dip. I love it. Hold on, guys. I'm just pulling some stories together here so I don't have chat up right now. But that's why Eve's here at the bar, making sure all the patrons are getting their drinks and so forth. And then this story that Jack posted. I don't care if someone else covered it. I find it funny. Setting homeless people on fire. I mean, that part isn't funny, but somebody's actually out there doing that.
Yeah.
Can you eat meth?
I'm sure you can, but I don't think it's a wise decision.
So did you, one of our favorite bullshit news sites is, of course, The Root. Have you heard the infamy, little bit of fame, e-fame pump that The Root got over the past couple of days?
No.
There's this actor, Malik Yoba, who used to be a big deal, isn't anymore. He came out and said, oh man, his statements are very confusing in and around trans women. Basically, there's nothing wrong with finding trans women attractive, in short. And so, therefore don't hate, don't be full of hate, all that kind of stuff. The Root ends up, and he's all over social media for this. People are like, so what are you saying? You're into trannies? You're like Eddie Murphy? You're paying for tranny sex? That rumor was flying around. And it was. That rumor was flying around social media on this guy. So he sits down for an interview with The Root, and you can go watch it on YouTube. It doesn't go well. And first surprise, The Root has a YouTube channel. I didn't know that. They're on all the platforms. And he explodes in anger when the little pretty boy interviewer from The Root starts asking him some pointed questions about being attracted to trannies and paying for tranny sex. And I've had enough of this. And he stands up. What the fuck is this? Is my life you're fucking with? And like he goes full nuclear on them. Starts screaming, I want the cards on every one of these cameras. Like meaning the SD cards for the recordings. He obviously didn't get them because they posted the full interview on their website. Wild.
Yeah, that is wild. Traps are traps. Well, that's like saying alcohol is alcohol, And I mean, it's like saying air is air. What are you trying to say there exactly? Are homeless people okay? Well, the homeless people okay about what? I don't exactly understand what Chad is trying to ask right now.
Yeah, I mean,
This has
Pop-Tart's
to
like,
do with trans women, and we started talking about trans women.
but yeah, I jumped
about homeless people. Wait,
there's definitely a delay. So I jumped across the number because I'm just like pulling up some stories to read here, and then I was kind of like conversationally saying, "Hey Eve, did you hear about Yoba and the fight he had over at The Root?" And then I came back to chat and I see Pop-Tart going, "None of that is funny." I'm like, "What? Yeah, I didn't say it was funny. It's just." I think Pop-Tart was probably responding to the setting homeless people on fire thing.
oh yeah, no, okay, because I missed the phrase, but that's homeless people. Okay, are the homeless people okay? That makes more sense because what I heard is you were talking about trannies and paying and fucking Eddie Murphy is supposed to be paying women for paying trans women for sex, and next thing I know, we're talking about taking the video cards for the memory cards out of the video cameras and stuff, and then next thing I know, people are the homeless people okay? Wait, what? I skipped over somehow. My brain skipped over the.
It's Eve. Things move fast when you're drinking. Okay, and it's
Okay, no, I'm with you now. I'm here now.
there. I finally got around to adjusting chat in a little chat window, so it's all good.
Homeless people were on fire. No, they aren't okay. Yeah.
No, there is a home trying. We'll get to that story in just a second.
They
Homeless.
were trying to set them on fire. Well, that's better than actually setting them on fire, I guess.
Yes. How successful this person was in terms of immolating the homeless, I don't know. But Jack, being the weirdo that he is, thought it was hilarious because that's just how Jack rolls. A lot of somethings.
You know, people talk about homeless people like they're all just helpless. I feel like if you try to set a homeless person on fire, it's a great way to get fucked up, you know? Like one of those guys will are used to fighting for the tiniest little scraps of food that they have. So you come at one of them, they have nothing to lose by murdering you. As a matter of fact, killing you and going to jail will probably be a step up for them. So they're probably not the people you want to mess with.
I hear you. I mean, okay, so here, let's just get the flaming homeless out of the way here. This story, all right. So over here on the flaming homeless, that was probably the worst way to say it. Jack's to blame. Remember that. This is not my story. Okay. The homeless are tranny prostitutes according to Polly. Are you trying to say that among the homeless population there are no transitioning non-binary people? How bigoted. Ugh. They're present in every community, monkey. Okay? Keep your 1950s thinking right back where it is. All right. So here we are. CBS News. Man accused of trying to set sleeping homeless man on fire. Why? Okay, here we go. A California man, nice, has been arrested after he allegedly set a homeless person on fire and then took photos of him earlier this month. Richard Smolitz, 32, was later charged with attempted murder, the Glendale Police Department announced Tuesday. Oh my God, they've got a picture of him. A big inferno.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the Glendale Police Department. Fire. Yeah? Looks like that was the result of them, the guy's little shopping cart and the boxes he was apparently sleeping on. Police set off...
on the Noir Bar hashtag? Or?
Yep. It's under hashtag Noir Bar. You'll find it if you scroll down a little bit. Police said officers went to assist the Glendale Fire Department with a small fire on a sidewalk September 12th. Officers found a homeless man was sleeping underneath the cardboard boxes when he was awakened by the smoke, authorities said. According to police, the man realized the cardboard was on fire and attempted to put out the flames with bottled water. But his attempts were unsuccessful. The local fire department quickly arrived and extinguished the flames. Upon their investigation, detectives checked surveillance video from a nearby business and found a man later identified as Smolitz, quote, intentionally lighting the cardboard on fire and then taking photos, police said. Authorities investigated further and questioned Smolitz, who they later connected to the alleged arson. A day later, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office filed attempted murder charges. Smollett remains in custody and his bail is set at $1 million, according to authorities. Monkey says shopping carts, so they set his house on fire. Not the shopping cart, the cardboard that he was sleeping under. Apparently, this guy, goddamn well, there's a homeless guy sleeping on the ground and on the sidewalk, and there's a bunch of cardboard over top of him, is sometimes the case. This guy, Smolitz, is walking along, sees a dude sleeping underneath a bunch of cardboard, and then lights the cardboard on fire and steps back and starts taking pictures of this dude he just set on fire.
So he's a piece of shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Pop-Tart says, so sick. Sorry, I was homeless. No, none of us here think that what this guy did was okay. And I don't think it's Smollett, as in like Jesse Smollett. I think it's...
Yeah, it's Smolletts. Smalletts. Smolletts.
Oh, so it's like the same thing, but with an S.
Well, he's Juicy Smollett, It's... I've heard the fucking comedic version of his name so many times. It's Jussie Smollett is how you say the guy's actual name, right? But it's Smloet.
Yeah, it's spelled differently than Juicy Smollett.
Yeah, Juicy Smollett. Speaking of homeless people, I hope that's where Juicy's at now. I mean, I don't hope homelessness on anybody, actually, but like, if anybody's got it coming to them, complete financial destitution, it's that fucking guy. No, you don't agree with me there?
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. Like, I was sitting there kind of go, well, no. He probably deserves that.
Mm-hmm. Fucker that he is.
It's one of those things. I don't like to say that someone deserves things like that to happen to them, but it's also a thing of, if that ever happened to that person, I probably wouldn't be too upset about it. Like, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I don't like to be the person that says bad things should happen to anybody, because you start wishing bad things on people, and I feel like that's a karma you don't want to come back on you.
No, that's I hear you. I don't really think you should wish evil on anybody, but it's kind of like, would, if you, like I said, financial destitution. If you were to find out that Jussie like can't get hired anywhere because his name is absolute dirt, I mean, there is a poetic justice there that's difficult to ignore. This guy preyed on people's anxieties, racial animosity, the bullshit news industry, the news entertainers, and what he knew they would jump on. I mean, it was so fucking cynical. He goddamn well knew that would be a story that would light up, because he knows exactly how news entertainers are. Oh, guys in MAGA hats attacking a gay black man? Like, that's just like, that's a pure gold for them. And who is it the most golden for? Don Lemon. I mean, if anything, Jussie, obviously he's stupid, but he was smart enough in his scheme where he's like, okay, I'm going to send myself some fake anthrax, some crushed up Tylenol in a letter. You know what I mean? That obviously didn't get enough attention. So he was smart enough to be able to fucking scheme, okay, I need something that's really going to grab the attention. And it's like, oh, well, MAGA guys attacking. He just didn't think any further than that. That's where the conniving, scheming intelligence stopped. It's like, yeah, but you're saying it happened in the middle of Chicago, and you paid by check, and you got friends that could be easily connected to you to do it. Why didn't he just beat the shit out of himself?
Right.
Like take a small fish beater, like a small bat or a pipe or whatever, and take the blows, man. Man the fuck up. Smash yourself a few times that you need a few stitches. Avoid your precious little face because you're an actor. And then go to the hospital and tell the story. Guys in MAGA hats did this somewhere away from cameras, you moron.
Do you know why, Polly?
No. Why?
Because Jesse didn't have the balls to do it himself. He's such a little beta bitch. He didn't even have the nuts to do it to himself. He had to pay someone else to do it to him.
How sad is that?
Functional says because he's hashtag bitch made, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have the guts. He's too much of a pussy to have hurt himself, so he had to pay someone else to hurt him to make it look realistic. He couldn't even get two white guys to do it.
Honestly, come on. It's not like you don't know white guys. It's just you got the two. What were they?
Two Nigerian.
I was gonna say Guyanan. Nigerian? Okay.
I think they were Nigerian. It might have been. I don't know. They were just two big burly black guys, and it's like
two extremely burly black guys. I mean, these weren't small dudes. It would be like, hey, I'm gonna get your boy Pat because he doesn't stand out in a crowd. I mean, Pat's a huge, noticeable guy. You know what I mean? Why would you get some little short, fit into a crowd, never be noticed type person to do it? Mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. Mind-blowing. I can't believe that story went away that fucking fast. That should have been the... Chaos Eve, why am I wrenched? I don't know, ask Polly. I don't know. You want me to de-wrench you? I can.
Apparently you did something to be worthy of being wrenched, Ryder. If you mean he can take it away if you'd rather, but you know.
You know the speaking of what's going on in chat, you know I'm reinstalling my operating system, Eve.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And you know why I'm gonna do it, chat? It's basically for you. And the fact that I can't deal with frustration very well. Y'all could test this out right now, especially if you're on a PC. I'm not sure if it'll work on mobile. If you type in @ and then the first couple of letters of someone's name, it'll autofill their name, and therefore you can respond to people real quick. Like I see, like, @TM Rider, Eve just did it, that kind of thing. @Dumpsterton, fucktart, come up, just New Fate just did it. I can't do that. It won't autofill anybody's name. So I have to go through the painful, tedious ass process of highlighting over someone's name and then scanning across it real quick. And every time I go to highlight it so I can copy it and then paste it, chat's moved. So I'm chasing chat with my own fucking cursor. You fucking believe that? It's slow. Like, people think that one of the reasons that I'm not as interactive with chat as maybe chat would like, either here, Conquerable Curation, Monkey in the Morning, that is the literal reason why. And if you look, you won't ever see @ symbols in front of what I'm typing. And now you know why. How did that happen? Leave your registry alone, folks. Don't go fuck with your system registry. That's actually what I think caused it. I wanted, Eve, when you right click on something, you get like a program or a file, you get the open with right click menu.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to add a program to the open with menu. That's all I was trying to do. So I open up regedit, the registry editor.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I think that's what caused it, although I can't be sure. Because it was only 3-4 days later, somewhere around there, that I noticed that it was no longer autofilling in chat, and it makes chat a lot more tedious, and people don't know who you're responding to because there's no highlighted names or anything.
Did you try like reverting to a previous save state? Like, you're the one who's always telling me to make sure I back everything up and then before I install any programs and stuff.
Well, you're right. Now, okay, here's the story.
You didn't?
No, I did. But when you create restore points, I don't know if you've ever noticed, they're huge, file size wise.
Yeah.
Restore points are massive relative to other file sizes. I had a whole bunch of them because I had just installed a new OS and I was installing different drivers and different things. So I was constantly creating restore points because I was making all kinds of changes as I was tweaking the new operating system to where I wanted it to be. A number of days had gone by. There were no problems that I could detect. Everything seemed fine. So I cleared all the restore points because it was taking up dozens of gigs of space. And then I realized that, oh, wait a minute. And I'm guessing, mind you, that this registry change is what caused this effect to occur. And I have gone through everything that I can think of to fix it. I've Googled the problem and with as many different search terms as I can think of. I've gone to the FAQs for Google itself. When you pull up general information on live chat, as they call it, through google.com, through like the YouTube help page, there's nothing on this. It just tells you you can't embed chat in embedded videos off site and blah, blah, blah. It's very unhelpful. So I'm stuck in the position of I want to be more interactive with chat. So therefore, I'm reinstalling my operating system for you guys. That's just how much I love you.
No.
Yeah. And it's just galling. Can you understand what, like, you ever get that, a little problem you can't fix where you're just like, fuck this, I'm going to do what I need to do. I don't care how far I've got to go. Are you like that with little computer issues at all?
Yeah, no, there's been times where they've just gotten to me and I'm just like, you know what, burn the whole thing down and start from the beginning.
Oh, Manic, I appreciated the donation. Thank you very much. $20. That's very generous. But no message, no emoji, no. Oh, that makes it extra sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. James Colley, are you out there pocket muting people? God damn it.
We're gonna take your wrench, James. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's fine. As long as you're not like Pop-Tart out there titty muting people. That's
She had to tell Monkey to take her wrench from her.
I
Poor
know.
baby.
I
Because she was
know.
just accidentally doing it all the time, and people are like, "What did I do?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
For those of you who don't know, Pop-Tart, you know, when she'll be in a stream or whatever, and she'll, as a lot of ladies will, they'll take their phone and she puts it in the top of her bra strap. You know what I mean? Just to hold on to it for a second while she's doing something with her hands. And she would lean over, and Pop-Tart isn't
Fuck you, Polly.
it isn't unwell endowed, let's say. And so she kept bopping people by accident. And we called it titty bopping or titty mutant.
See, what you need to do, Pop-Tart, is make sure that the screen is facing out towards your shirt, because your skin will accidentally poke things on the screen, whereas if you face the screen of the phone out when you slip it under there, it won't do that. I have to do that when it's like in my pocket, like I'll slip it into my side pocket or something. I make sure the screen is facing outwards, because I don't know if it's like just the heat from, you know, my thigh or whatever will accidentally bump buttons on the phone. But Papa got them titties, says Monkey. Yep.
See, well, I didn't want to come out and say it, but Monkey's here, so he can be raw with it. And see, now, here, watch what I have to do. I had to go up on chat to stop it from scrolling, and then scroll over Manic's name to highlight it, so I can paste it into the bottom. Control C, Control V, there. And now I can type a message. See how insane that is? Where everyone else can just go at, and then just go MA, and then IAC will appear after it. I want autofill back in chat badly.
You know, it's funny because when I'm like at work or whatever, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm using private. I need to try it when it's not on private browse. But when I'm at work, I have to use Microsoft Edge as my browser.
Oof.
Because
okay.
they refuse to install anything else. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I use Microsoft Edge. And when I'm trying to watch a live stream, I don't know if it's because I'm using private browsing or not, but it won't autofill anybody but the streamer.
You know, okay. In case any of y'all are curious, I figured out the root of how autofill works. If you right click on the little three dots at the top of your chat box, one of the things that comes up is participants. And anybody who's typed in chat will appear as a chat participant, right? Mm-hmm. The problem I'm having is the exact same one that you're having, Eve. The only person that's populated in the list of participants is the person who created the stream, the stream originator. So I can in Monkey in the Morning, I can @Monkey, and he's the only one. Because his name, it's auto-filling off of the participants list. For some reason, the participants list isn't populating for me. Anyone has an idea why? I am all motherfucking ears to hear possible suggestions rather than just rebooting my OS. And I tried, so many different things. I tried different browsers. I tried Microsoft Edge because I don't ever who the fuck uses Edge unless you need to? You know what I mean? It was default to the 9s because I've never used it. So there was no security settings, no nothing, no script or ad blocker plus or anything installed on it. Nope, same problem. The participants list isn't populated. I tried Pale Moon, Opera, Waterfox, which is my regular browser, Firefox, the same in all of them.
You're not using private browsing, are you?
No, because Edge was clean default as clean gets. Wide open to every kind of fucking spying in the world. I tried Chrome because I thought maybe it was a Chrome, Google, YouTube interaction. You know, you can't use Hangouts except on Chrome. And things that are extremely similar to Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Zero's like, it doesn't autofill on mobile because I'm always on mobile. My laptop is broken again. Nah, fuck, I hear you there. Okay, so you want to hear about the meth bean dip?
Sure, let's hear about it.
Okay. It's from CNN. Oregon woman charged with serving meth-laced bean dip. Nice short story. An Oregon woman is under arrest after police say she shared bean dip with an extra ingredient, methamphetamine. Cassandra Medina Hernandez. See, build the wall. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Lazy humor. Cassandra Medina Hernandez gave some of the meth-laced dip to a fellow employee in the deli of the grocery store where she worked, according to a news release Sunday from the Marion County Sheriff's Office. The co-worker began feeling ill, went to the hospital, and was told that the dip might have been contaminated with meth, deputies said. At least one other employee might have eaten some of the dip, deputies said. But they don't think any customers did. Medina Hernandez was charged with unlawful delivery of methamphetamine, recklessly endangering another person, and causing another person to ingest a controlled substance. CNN has not been able to reach Medina Hernandez or her attorney. There you go. Don't kiss your chickens, the CDC says.
What?
That's the headline. Don't kiss your chickens? Like, you mean when they're raw and chopped up in a pan, or when they're running around in your front yard where they shouldn't be to begin with?
I mean, if they're raw and chopped up in a pan, you shouldn't put raw chicken in your mouth, but
Right?
you really shouldn't kiss like a chicken that's running around in your yard either, because that's not like, I don't even want to kiss my dogs, but there's so many different poultry-borne diseases that can affect humans that in very poor ways. You just don't want to do that.
Ex-Bubba says, as opposed to lawful delivery of meth. Yes, but that's another crime. That's trafficking.
Methadone is, that's not the same thing, I know.
No.
It's technically meth. I mean, if you shorten it that way.
Yeah, I mean, Pop-Tart's right. Who the fuck is kissing their chickens? That's what I'm saying. Like, what is it? Like, people that are... I don't know. I know some people keep pet ducks, but who keeps pet chickens that you're going to be all super friendly with? You know what I mean?
Mexicans.
Ouch. James Colley's like, before or after you fuck them? Yeah, did this story originate in New Zealand? Oh, see, now this is some bullshit. 4 baby squirrels were found with their tails deliberately braided together. Who's the motherfucker? Who's the son of a bitch who braided 4 baby squirrels together?
That's a good question.
That's a kid who needs a good slapping. That's not funny. Squirrels are awesome. I know Jack hates them, but that's just because they're in his house and won't leave. It's not their fault he has a nice home. You know what I'm talking about here? See, I've tried telling him. He's like, oh, I'm just going to get the big traps. And I'm like, don't kill him, man. Squirrels, I love squirrels. I'm like, squirrels are awesome. Leave them alone. He's like, oh, yeah, but you don't have to put up with them like running around all the time. Because as soon as you're quiet, they think you've gone to sleep. Because they're smart enough. Squirrels are smart as fuck. To not run around. They stay quiet while you're making noise. And when you stop making noise, they figure you've gone to sleep or left. So then they start creating their winter store of nuts and such. Making all this noise. He says, you can hear them rolling nuts across the floor up in the attic. And I'm like, so your response is, why don't you get one of them no-kill traps? He's like, oh, it doesn't work. They figure their way out of it. I love the idea of Jack being outsmarted by squirrels. I say leave them be. It's proof positive you've got a very nice home. That's why they refuse to leave.
I mean, I know a lot of people just really hate squirrels to begin with, but I think that tying their tails together is just a little overkill. Just shoot them with a BB gun, kill them, just get it over with.
That's I don't know. Ex-Bubba Hotep asked like where was Jack at the time, and it's like, hey, I think Jack would just kill him. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to play. Because I mean, think how long that would take. And do you really believe that Jack knows how to braid hair? I don't. That's a funny mental image, actually. Jack and his friends having a sleepover in their pajamas, braiding each other's hair.
Wait, Jack has friends?
Yeah, Yeah, Jack's got friends.
Really?
I don't disbelieve him when he says it.
Then why does he... I don't understand. Why does he hang out with you guys if he has actual friends?
But I've got actual friends, and I hang out with you guys.
Well, it's because we're cool, but, you know.
Well, then same answer. You and Far, man. Both you got like black hearts. It's weird.
I love you, Polly.
Oh, thank you. You know.
Is that why you abuse Jack? I'm not abusing Jack.
Hey, let me tell you something. Bubba Hotep says squirrels are rats with an anxiety disorder. Squirrels are much smarter than rats. And rats carry a lot more disease than squirrels do. And rats will eat any old fucking thing. Squirrels are, hey, carbohydrate based. They run around in trees. They're acrobatic. Squirrels got a million things going for them that make them better than rats. You want proof? Just take your girlfriend and go, or your wife, whatever the case may be, and be, hey, look at that bunch of rats over there, and watch her go, oh my god, gross, and then go, hey, look at that bunch of squirrels over there. She'll go, oh my god, they're so cute. See, there's the difference. Anyone talking, dude, you're taking this way too seriously. You feed the squirrels peanuts and your kids love it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, what? I don't understand. Jack's the one who wants to kill the squirrels. I'm saying he shouldn't kill the squirrels. Rats is easier to spell and easier for the Japanese to pronounce. You ever see a Japanese man trying to pronounce squirrel?
Oh, no.
It's got like 3 different sounds in it that simply don't exist in the Japanese language. So it comes out like square.
Oh,
it's got lots of L's and U's and oh man, it's like the nightmare word. Okay, do you want to hear how feminism dovetails with white supremacy?
Yep, let's do it. Come on. I just want to read this one headline right here that's in the Noir Bar that apparently Mr. Noopoly sent in. Chick-fil-A sales have doubled since SJW protests began.
Nice! I love it.
We'll just leave that at the headline.
I love it. I was watching, oh, real quick, Monkey said that, and the Germans with the word squirrel too. Yeah, I totally forgot. I didn't know that was hard for them to pronounce as well until Badger was being pressured on a Monkey in the Morning, telling him, say it, come on, do it. He's giggling and laughing, and you can see, even though you can't see him, you can picture his face beat red with, I'm gonna try. It's like me trying to pronounce Worcestershire sauce. It just doesn't happen or come out well. The the story you read, which was what? Eve?
Oh, the one that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
The scrolling back up to it. Chick-fil-A says Chick-fil-A sales have doubled since SJW protests began.
Oh, okay. So that reminded me of 2 things. Is it true that they tried performing a political rally against Chick-fil-A on a Sunday? Was that a Poe article or was that real?
I do not know.
If I'm not mistaken, it was one of the presidential candidates. I was reading.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I was Percocet drugged at the time, so I was like, opium den out of it. So I vaguely remember reading it, and I'm like, is this true? Is this I don't have the energy to find out if this is a Poe article or not, but I'd love to know. Can you imagine setting up, I think it was that they set up the protest for we're going to go there on the 18th of the month, and the 18th of the month was a fucking Sunday. You do know they're closed on Sundays, right? Famously closed.
Yeah, it's like Why?
You got me. Well, I think there's the obvious thing is that it's political scoring points for pro-LGBT, for being in favor of the community. Because you need to protest somebody that's well known as a hate group. So unless you've got a local Nazi affiliate chapter in your neighborhood, what are you going to do? Well, let's go down to the Chick-fil-A. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nazis are the most valuable commodity in American politics right now. They are so hugely in demand and the supply is so small. There's just not enough Nazis to go around for everybody. Everyone wants them to point at and denounce, and there really just aren't that many of them. So, you know, it makes them pretty valuable. You can find an actual skinhead. Hell, sell it to your local politician. He'll pay dearly for it.
They're criticizing your pronunciation of Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire? What's wrong with that?
Worcestershire?
Yeah.
It's pronounced Worcestershire. Worcestershire?
Yeah, I see Hayden White trying to inform me there. I have tried. I even got Bear, like Irate Alex Bear. Never going to stop calling him Bear. It's just the way that it is.
And nobody's going to stop calling him Bear.
Yeah, and it's not out of offense, Bear. It comes from a place of affection, man. You're Bear. In the same way that I don't expect anyone to call me Rudiger Maximilian Dubbenstein. I'm Polly. You know,
actually getting annoyed that people are still calling him Bear.
I can't tell if it's legitimate annoyance, but he certainly displays annoyance with it. Yes.
Oh.
And I'd like to think that he's just joking around because I don't want to deliberately be pissing the guy off. I can't help it. Bear is a lot more friendly of a nickname than Alex is. It just is.
Tila says I call it whore from a Shire sauce.
Whore from the Shire.
Oh, his name is Bear. I don't give a fuck what he wants. I agree, Monkey. It's not gonna go away. It's gonna take a really long time for people to stop calling him Bear. To just there may be that much distance between when he was Irate Bear and then when he, when enough new people come in who don't know him as Irate Bear and just instead as Irate Alex. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my best guess, because I haven't had a chance to ask him off stream or something like that, I think he's just like, Lord Bear is a character I'm continuing with on the channel of Irate Alex. I'm not continuing with the Irate Bear channel anymore. Therefore, there's the division. Stop working against me here, guys. That's my best guess.
I didn't quite get, because he seemed to do very similar videos on his Irate Alex channel, so I didn't quite get what the difference was between the two.
No, I definitely see the difference. He's like toning way down the reaction videos, especially because of the oncoming bullshit new terms of service about attacking other creators. But from the way that, but then they reneged on them, and I haven't been following that. Monkey and Bear, who are a lot more into response, I should say, material than I am, knew a hell of a lot more detail of it, and I wasn't really following it. And it's like they backtracked a week later, I think. I was like, God damn, really? I'm not gonna lie though, I felt the same thing when I found out that Comicsgate was an anti-tag, meaning putting Comicsgate in your video title or as a tag for one of your videos meant that you were going to be crushed in the algorithm.
Oh yeah.
It became an anti-tag hateful slur because Comicsgate is an online hate group, don't you know? God forbid we should want quality comics and creators not calling us Nazis online. Hateful bastards that we are.
There's a friend of mine who's actually he actually does his own comic streams, and I'm pretty sure his points would be counter to yours, and I'd be interested. I need to talk with him a little more and find out how just open to discussion he really is on the subject, because the discussions about politics and stuff that I've had with him have been actually very interesting. But I would be interested to see if he's open to discussion, if you guys would have a conversation. I still need to talk to him more. It's not anything quite set in stone, but I would be interested to see like what a debate or a discussion between you guys would go. How that would go.
I mean, I'm open to the general idea. I'll talk with, pretty much anybody,
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure how much of a good faith arguer he is yet, because I don't know him super well.
Well, you know what? There is, when I say pretty much anyone, like certain people came to mind in terms of like, there is no point in arguing with them. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I know they're not going to show up in good faith and argue. You know who comes to mind instantaneously is a great example? Bronx blogger. I applaud Monkey for going and arguing with him, and also shake my head at Monkey. Why did you bother going? That guy doesn't argue in good faith. It's not only that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't move the goalposts. He never puts them down. He's got the goalposts in his arms and he runs around with him while he's arguing with you. Oh, I didn't say this. I didn't say that. I'm moving on. Like, fuck. What's the point in even having the conversation? I mean, okay, I guess it's a test of your orative skills or your oration to go in there. Really a test of your ability to keep your blood pressure low enough and not rage quit, I would imagine. Fuck that guy. I think he has a name. Like, how the fuck does anyone know who Bronx Blogger is anyway? Because he's this asshole that comes on and says these stupid things online. It's not e-fame, it's e-infamy. You know? Who is it that just met Grendel versus? Oh, Hayden White. Being the comic expert, far from it, but I've read a few in my time. And knowing very little next to nothing, I recently bought Grendel versus the Shadow. Have you heard of it, and is it good? You blind bought Grendel in the Shadow? Trust your instincts. It's fucking awesome. You clearly have very good instincts for picking up good shit. I talked about it on Comic Book Curation previously. It was one of my pitches, actually, at the end of an episode. It's fantastic. Enjoy. Classic noir detective tale. Can't go wrong. My knockdown of Coach...
I see it now. I was like, where was that asked? I don't see it. It's a little ways back up there.
Yeah. See, you know what it's like when chat's moving and you're trying to highlight someone's name so you can copy and paste it? I need my autofill back.
Mm-hmm.
The knockdown of Coach Crin. It makes me think that guy makes me think a lot about what's going on online, and it makes me think that people like I wouldn't want to be the kind of guy that he is trying to be, the advice giver, the sagely older man. Hey, listen, whippersnapper, you want to know what's up with women who do this, who do that, because that's the role he plays. But all of his advice is awful and weird, and inevitably has the same thread running through all of it. I'm awesome. None of the stories he tells come from an experience with people or a theoretical background or something that someone told him. Every story is based upon you know not what. Every time he's talking, I'm sitting there thinking, what part of your ass did you pull this out of? But yet gets a swath of people, a healthy, good swath of young men listening to him who are looking for answers. And I tend to think, I don't know, I think Monkey would be good at that. He can play that, not fatherly role, but raw uncle kind of role. You know what I mean? Like, that's, you get what I'm saying, right? Like the dirty uncle who he's the worldly guy who's been around and spent some time in the air quotes here Orient for a couple of years. That's
Monkey's now Monkey's role on the internet for all the fraternity. Everyone's worldly uncle.
Yeah. That's Uncle Monkey. He's everyone's
Uncle Monkey.
He's everyone's worldly dirty uncle.
I expect his Twitter handle to change any minute now.
Because I mean, god damn it, if guys like that who are giving legit bad advice, The answer is always the same. It's the woman's problem. It's the woman's problem. It's the woman's problem. And you're talking to a bunch of so-called incels. First of all, I don't believe there's really such a thing as an incel. There's somebody who's socially awkward that doesn't have enough experience yet, positive experience, to have built a small sense of confidence about themselves and what they're doing. That's what's going on. And I don't mean to minimize it. That is a huge crippling thing that I just described there. I can respect somebody who's got that sort of thing hanging over their head. Hell yeah. It's like people talk about women and they'll say, well, if you got body image issues, and people will sort of like respect that and they'll think, well, yeah, that'll crush you. Women are, they're very judgmental of each other in a lot of cases, and they can be very harsh and judgmental of each other. And if you've got, you think you're fat, you think you're ugly, and you got other women talking like that, no guy's ever going to date you. If you don't come across as, if you don't feel sexy, you're not going to come across as sexy. Everyone can respect how damaging it would be for a woman. But no one really seems to think about that when it comes to men, young men. It's like, if you don't have positive experiences, the only experiences you have are negative ones, women shutting you down. You asked out 3-4 girls in high school and they all laughed and said, fuck no. That's crushing. You have no positive experiences upon which to build any sense of confidence about what you're up to. And these people get labeled as potential movie shooting incels? Movie theater shooter incels? Man, that shit pisses me off. Fuck you people.
Right. I mean, and as someone who was in that position in high school and stuff, I had very little real world experience in high school because I was mostly homeschooled. So when I would go outside the house and interact with people, making friends was difficult, let alone actually speaking to a girl and getting her to show romantic interest. And it's just like, no, this is. And then it was bad enough then, 10, 12 years ago when I was dealing with it. Or I say 12 years, probably longer than that. It's longer than that since I was in high school. But that many years ago when I was dealing with it. But now I can only imagine what all these kids are dealing with now. They're having to come up and just being like, hey, I'm just kind of introverted and would like to talk to a girl. But I don't really know how. I don't know how to talk to people. And then just being, like you said, labeled as a potential school shooter because they're kind of standoffish and stuff. And it's like, oh, so you want to make these guys' social anxiety even worse just because they're white males. I don't want to name names of anybody I know specifically, but I know particular people who I can, that you and I interact with fairly regularly that I could name off that are like that. They're just very introverted guys and they're perfectly nice, sweethearted guys, but because they're kind of introverted and kind of quiet, people like these feminists would be so quick to label them as school shooters or incels or something like that, to the point where they're just like, fuck it. Why do I even care about interacting with people outside of my little comfort zone? Because they're going to hate me anyways. Why should I get up and even leave the house? And I'm just like, I totally get where you're coming from there. It's just a problem that makes itself worse because when they react to a couple, the feminists react to a couple of negative people in the world and label everyone that way. And so the people who are the vast majority of those people that are in that antisocial grouping react negatively to that labeling because they think everyone is talking about them that way.
Yeah.
And it's a cyclical thing. It just makes itself worse and worse as it goes along, and it's just going to end poorly.
And I mean, you got, like, we're obviously speaking in broad generalities here, and this isn't going to cover. We're not going to cover everybody who's thinking this way. What I'm looking at is a sick, cynical game of percentages that a hustler is playing by drawing these people to him. And I will give you advice because I know there's enough of them out there that if I keep talking like this, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you, Coach Cringe. That is not everyone's going to buy my snake oil, but enough of them will.
Yep.
And it's like, yo, man, you're a fucking bottom feeder.
Yep. He's going to find some poor guy who's, enough of those poor guys who are just desperate enough for some kind of answers that they'll listen to him and take his shit to heart. And I cannot stand that guy.
And you get into this, like, why would young men, whatever. Like, I mean, nobody who's been around young men, has been a mother to a young man, or even thinks about it for 5 minutes is confused as to why Jordan Peterson is a successful, well-known, famous individual. It's not hard to understand at all. Well, young men are in this position and blah, 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 and clean your room. And why do you think that these things strike chords? It's really not all that hard to understand and figure out. I mean, the school is built up, for women's feelings and women, and you are a toxic male and toxicity everywhere. I mean, damn. This is and it's, I don't think that you have, somebody said this, so are you putting Jordan Peterson in the category of someone who's taking advantage? No, that's an actual clinical psychologist who's offering his experienced, professional opinion. And he comes with a lot of passion when he delivers it. That's all that's going on there. Solid material, in other words. You know what I mean? It's the guy who's waiting for the scraps that fall off that table that bugs me. And what's his name? It gets even worse. Remember, what was the MGTOW guy? Angry MGTOW? Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah. Reminds me of Rick's line from Casablanca. It's like, Rick, am I really so parasitical? He says, I don't mind a parasite. I object to a cut rate one.
Damn.
Yeah, that's you, Angry MGTOW. A fucking cut rate parasite.
Yeah, that guy kind of fell off the map. Does he still making videos? I don't know.
That's a good damn question, but rightfully so he fell off the map. Fucking weirdo. Remember him screaming, they can't stop us, and like, Jesus.
They can't stop us all. Sounds like the people raiding Area 51.
Exactly. We'll clap some alien butts. They can't stop us. Jesus Christ.
These human women's is too bad for us. Let's go get some alien booty.
Oh shit. Over on the Streamlabs, thank you very much for the $10. Thank you for being the only bar that is still open at this time for me. Smiley face. Yeah, that's the point of an after hours. And
who was that? You didn't say a name.
Anonymous.
Oh, just anonymous. Okay.
Yep. It was just anonymous. So it's greatly appreciated. Tip your bartender.
Well, thank you, Ninny Mouse.
And we will remain open until Monkey calls the fuzz on us again. I know it was him.
Monkey says Angry MGTOW was mad his mom was a whore. Or hoot. Oh, sorry, she was a hoot. One of my friends over another server for like tabletop gaming that I'm in suggested that's the way cussing in YouTube chat is going to develop. Code words. Like when you said hoot, it reminded me of that. Horror's going to become something else. Shit's going to become something else, and not like putting in like exclamation marks for eyes. It's going to be whole other words that mean other things. It's going to be layers of arcane encoding just to be able to properly express something because of algorithmic needs. And you think that YouTube would have figured this out by now because the internet has already developed its own language in a lot of cases. You can have entire conversations about things and using phrases that if someone had not been indoctrinated into the internet culture would be completely like you were speaking Spanish or French to them.
Hell yeah.
They would not understand it.
I get why they're working the way that they're working, though. They meaning YouTube. They have to show that they're doing something, so when they have their meetings with their advertisers, millions of dollars are sitting on the table in terms of the discussion. I think that that's what's at the root of the verification thing. I think it's twofold. I think the algorithm will push only verified people. That's why they wanted to re-verify everyone and have them pass this strict load of bullshit. And everyone who's verified is now going to be bubbled and pushed to the top by the algorithm, number one. And
I did see that they did come back up on that. People who were already verified are going to stay verified. And then just going forward, they're going to be more selective. It's not based on 100,000 viewers anymore, or 100,000 subs anymore that you can apply for it. They'll just come to you when they think you need it. They keep an eye on people who are trending. And
no shit. They got to come to you for it? Really?
They are not going to accept applications for it anymore. It's more of a, yeah, we just think that if you need it, like if people are trying to impersonate you or something like that, then we'll verify you.
Oof.
We didn't want it to be seen as like a badge of official acceptance by YouTube and things like that. It's like, well, it's okay, fair enough in that regard. Because that was the same problem that Twitter ran into, that little check mark. People were apparently taking that as meaning they were officially endorsed by Twitter. And
yeah, but they kind of are. They kind of are, actually were. Remember when they denied Milo Yiannopoulos was actually Milo Yiannopoulos by taking away his blue check mark? You must not be you.
Right. And so that's what they're trying to say is like, we want it to be a thing that say, hey, this is the official voice of this person, this is the official channel of this person. So that way, if someone's trying to impersonate, you and take your viewers away, they can know that this is not actually you. This one over here with the check mark is actually you. So it also means that people with less than 100,000 subscribers could also potentially get it. Right. But it really depends on the individual's needs. And it's like, I get it, but it's also a shady way of saying that we can pick and choose. And if we don't like what you're saying, we won't give it to you.
Yep. Certainly comes across that fucking way. I had no idea that was the thing. We will find who we want. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I was actually, because I went into my YouTube studio thing the other day, and it was an article up there, and I was like, I'll read this article and see what it's about. Oh.
God damn it.
It is not on here anymore.
They don't want any more disreputable people over 100,000 getting that check mark. Like Sinatra, for example.
Right.
That must stick in their craw.
It's like, God damn it, this guy got verified.
How? How did this guy get verified? Oh, he's got like 140, 150,000 subs. That's how.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, think about it. Bering is over that mark.
Oh, hell yeah.
Shu is well over that mark.
Yeah, by a long shot. Well, I guess we can be completely assured that Sargon, like Carl Benjamin, will not be approached by them with his new channel, Akkad Daily. He started around a week ago, and it's at like what, 70, 80,000 subs already? Because he said, why'd you start a new channel? Because my old channel was being just absolutely destroyed in the algorithm. The views were dropping so fast. And he goes and put up his social blade. Look. And it's all too easy to point out to someone and say, hey, that's because nobody cares about your content anymore. And it's like, really? Then why is my second channel, The Thinkery, doing just fine? So I'm going to start a new channel and see what happens and go with a slightly different format on it. Go back to some old stuff, more content of a shorter form, near daily, if not daily. And yeah, look at it. The views are fine. The sub count is shooting through the roof. And when he breaks 100,000, Eve, they ain't going to be approaching him for a check mark.
Yeah, no.
That guy? No fucking way.
Johnny Boy Sacco says, oh, for fuck's sakes, if you love YouTube, CNN, MSNBC, you're monetized. If you are Ranting Monkey, Polydub, Chaos Eve, you're screwed. I'm like, to be honest, I don't think YouTube even knows I exist.
Well, see, there's the thing. It's, I'm just shy of 800 subs right now. And Weibo was saying to me, oh, so you can apply for monetization? And I'm like, no.
Why? So you can go, not monetized. Not monetized.
Yeah. She said, really, you think it's, I'm like, yeah. Because I hear a lot of people say that. And they're right to say it. Like, what's the fucking point? I mean, super chats would be, in terms of monetization of ads, I couldn't fucking care less. Monkey is completely and Bear have completely blackpilled me on the ads thing. I don't even think they were trying to. They were just telling me, hey, here's what's up with it. Here's, like, for me personally, here's the kind of money that you see out of it. Here's what you used to see out of it. Oh, fuck that trickle of change. It's a literal trickle of change, like you see going on into the fucking martini glass on the bottom right-hand corner. Where here it's just a representation of actual money. No, Streamlabs and Patreon develop a core audience that you actually give a damn about. Don't treat your audience like shit. Don't be a Nision. And that, if you want to sustain yourself on YouTube, that seems to be the best way going forward. I'm definitely not an expert in promotion, though. Anybody who's ever watched me for a little bit can tell that. I just like doing what I'm doing online and would like it to be, at a minimum, self-sustaining. And my audience is awesome, so they're really supportive of that.
Oh, by the way, anybody who was worried about, I don't know how many people in chat actually knew about this or watched my streams, but anybody who's worried about the 2 streams I had copyright claimed and blocked, yeah, they're no longer blocked. So, because somebody decided to submit a dispute over them, and well, it wasn't entirely me, but I have every confidence that the claim will be completely dismissed within 30 days. So, I didn't tell you about this, Polly. You've been kind of absent lately. So I found out on Thursday that I had 2, not one, and I got 1 earlier in the day, which kind of pissed me off.
Mm-hmm.
A copyright claim on one of my videos that completely blocked it.
All right.
And I'm like, well, this sucks. And so while I'm sitting there trying to figure out what to do with this, I went ahead and had my live stream. And by the time I got off my live stream, I found out I had another video claimed. Both of them were by Vampire the Masquerade ones.
Really?
And they were claimed for the actual video game music. And, you know, thank Yolander, because he went digging around on the internet and found out that back around the 5th of this month, Sony, Milan, I think Milan Enterprises or Entertainment or something like that, one of them that is owned by Sony, blah, 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 they released the soundtrack from the original game. So a bot had been going around flagging all of these videos on YouTube and other social media platforms and stuff, saying that these people were illegally uploading the soundtrack, even though a lot of the stuff on YouTube is like video game footage and stuff. So, you know, I was pissed. So I filed counterclaims, disputed it. I'm like, no, this is gameplay. This is not an actual, you know, substitute for the song. This is not right. And so I started looking around on Twitter as well, and somebody linked Jacob to something which he sent to me, where a big prominent YouTuber who does Vampire the Masquerade commentary videos and stuff, she's like, hey, I have a problem with this because my videos got claimed, and I am actually in contact with the composer of these songs, who actually sent me unused tracks from the album when the new game originally came out and gave me permission to use all of them in my videos. So what you're saying is I have to go back and re-edit all of my videos and re-upload them to not include these songs, and that's just not okay with me. And I'd like an answer. She got in contact with Sony, and they were like, oh shit, sorry, we didn't mean for this to happen. We're getting right on that, and we're fixing all of this. We apologize for the inconvenience. And we're just like, okay, all right, you know, it sucks, but at least they've owned up to their mistake and are fixing it. But I was a little scared for a second there that all my videos on Vampire the Masquerade were going to get claimed and I was going to get in trouble. But because none of them were strikes, they were all claims that just completely blocked the video. So it had me worried that if I got too many of those, YouTube was going to end up doing a copyright strike against me or something in a minute. And because I'm not sure what level that actually has to be, you know? When does a claim escalate to a strike? I don't know if you have any clue on that yourself, but you know, I'm not. entirely sure where that line is. So I was worried that it was going to get to that point and I could lose my YouTube channel. So
Yeah, I have a big issue with the background music thing myself, because a couple of noir bars that I put up um, got claimed, not struck, but just claimed uh, for partially what I thought was, at one time I thought it was royalty free, which it was claimed to be. Nonetheless, it got claimed. What, maybe the person actually owned it, maybe they didn't. You know how it goes, right? The other one, I put the person's information in the description, et cetera, et cetera. It was a collection of covers and stuff. And it's like, can you own your own cover? And it's like, yes, I guess you kind of can, but I put the connections or the links to the guy's website and all of his information, put it up. It got claimed. Doesn't matter anyway. My channel isn't monetized, and hilariously, those were noir bars that were just fun one-offs and got taken down anyway. So fuck you. That's when Quiz suggested to me, what about video game music? He said, think about it. People live stream games all the time and they don't get hit. And I'm like, don't they? And he goes, no, think about all of the fucking people that play video games and the music that's playing, like the actual score. If they licensed a song like Grand Theft Auto or something, I could see that happening. A bot hitting up like an actual pop song that's playing on a radio, or San Andreas or whatever, with like, there's like a hip hop radio station, I guess, in that game, you know, that kind of thing. I can see that. And he's like, what, like LA Noir? And I'm like, oh man, I love the soundtrack to LA Noir. I don't play video games, but I've definitely heard that. I'd love to have that playing in the background in Noir Bar. Just go ahead and use it. After talking with some people about it and thinking it over, no, I think it's just going to get claimed or struck. And there's the thing, if I get struck, I'm fucked. A hell of a lot of my channel is based around streaming. You get the one hit, that's it for streaming for what, 90 days, is it?
If you get a strike, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's ones that I've not disputed. Like, it's like, if it's a similar situation, like what you said, where it's Vampire the Masquerade is another good example. Vampire the Masquerade also has some licensed music in it. And I actually had Mustafa go in and make me some generic club music to play when I go into the club areas, because otherwise it's licensed music playing. And the 2 times that I did go in there without it, one, I had to mute the entire section because there's no way to just turn the music off. It's just sound or no sound in the options because the game's so old. Number 2, you know, the first time it happened, it was like, okay, I got struck for this. So Mustafa went in and made me some generic sounding club music that we went in and put that in his place of those files. So it just plays his music when I go into the clubs instead of the licensed music. And that's how I got around that. So it's like somebody's, like an actual band has made this song and then licensed it to the game developers. I don't have that license as well. I can understand why they claimed it. You know, I still am not totally cool with it, but in that case, but in the case of this video game music thing, it was like, no, this is not something that, this was me playing the game. This wasn't me trying to upload the soundtrack and get views or anything like that.
Right.
And that's what the intent of those claims was trying to say, well, you're trying to upload and replace you can't manually replace the music files in the game. Which game? You can with some of the older ones like Vampire the Masquerade. Vampire the Masquerade, in fact, when people didn't know a whole lot about computers, they just dropped the files in there. But that's what we ended up doing, Zelthor, was we just manually replaced the files, and it helped me immensely to not get claimed. But in the case of this video game music that's actually a part of the game and was originally for the game, I feel like I shouldn't be claimed for that one because I'm not trying to upload the soundtrack. It's just part of the game. You know, you get what I'm saying? There's a difference there.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why that was being claimed, because the bot was just reading it as people uploading the soundtrack. It didn't take into account the fact that it happened like at, what was it, 2 hours, like an hour and 51 minutes into a 2-hour live stream. or that I was talking over it. It just heard the right notes and said, oh, well, that's one of ours. We'll just take that. And it moved on. You know, I'm considering doing something very similar right now with this one I've got from Capcom on my Resident Evil one, because I'm like, what did you claim here? Because saying I showed their gameplay trailer, and I'm like, no, I didn't play your gameplay trailer. I was playing the game, but I don't know how Capcom's going to respond to that. So,
one thing I suggest, and it's probably beyond YouTube's technical means or their desire to do so, is double track uploads. Everyone's seen it on a DVD or on Amazon files and such, where there's different audio tracks that you can choose. Why can't you upload more than one audio track for a video? I'll upload this video, and the audio track is, first audio track is me speaking. The second audio track is the music. There's a problem with the music. I can delete it and upload another one. Why not allow multi audio tracking on videos instead of just the singular audio track?
You don't have any reason why they shouldn't allow that.
It would alleviate a lot of problems for creators, but in my opinion, it would alleviate a lot of problems for smaller than Jake Paul creators. So thus, they couldn't give a fuck. It's like, you bastards are going to keep coming back no matter what because you're small timers and you need to.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. I mean, we need to keep in mind that this is, hold on, sneeze coming on.
Mm-hmm. And he mutes, so we didn't have to hear the sneeze, guys.
I did. Okay, it was like the guy who gave away the free LGBT.
Sneezing again.
Who gave away the free LGBT comics at the comic book convention down in, it wasn't Brazil, was it? It was one or another South American countries. Okay, so he was on. It wasn't Brazil because it wasn't Portuguese. Some Spanish-speaking South American country. He had like 53 million followers on his YouTube channel. Never heard of the guy. Like, it was like Javier Hernandez or whatever. You know what I mean? And the guy's huge beyond all belief. When we think of YouTube and Twitter, we're just thinking of English language YouTube and Twitter. There's a whole other swath of, I can't even call it swath, there's a whole massive world of non-English language YouTube out there. You know what I mean? There's people with tens of millions of followers that don't have these fucking problems. You think they care what the person who's like got 10,000 followers on English language YouTube says? Like, we're not, people talk about how small of a pond that we're in. Think about how small of a pond you're in when you realize, you know, how many other lakes and oceans and ponds and rivers and other littoral structures there are out there. Because we're thinking just English. Now, it should make you understand how insanely insignificant you are. And how ridiculous it is that they listen to people like, what's his name? Guy formerly of Vox. Help me out here. Carlos Maza.
Oh, yeah.
You YouTube, who deal with hundreds of millions of followers across multiple language platforms, all run out of your offices in Mountain View, California. And this guy sent out some tweets and added you, and you fucking bent the knee to this guy who ended up getting fired by his own Marxist company less than a month later. I mean, this is the stupid spinelessness of their activity. Mind-blowing. Of all fucking people to listen to, that fucking guy? How much bad PR could have he possibly created for you? In any case, I asked you a while back, do you want to hear about how feminism dovetails with white supremacy? This article is far too long to read, and I have no intention of reading it. It is on a website, Zora, which is for us, by us. So it's the root, but for essays only. Okay? The person who wrote this article, Katanya Harrison, this article is mind-blowing. Yeah, here it is. Zora. Unapologetic hours. A new medium for publication for women of color. Oh, excuse me. It's not just black. It's specifically women of color. So in other words, for everything but white women. Nice.
Yep. I also feel like, one thing I want to point out real quick, it's kind of a little off topic. I feel like a lot of times in the circles that we run in, we still use that phrase, women of color, people of color. And I think we really need to move away from that, because it's still, we're using their word that separates everybody else versus white people. Because people of color includes everyone who is not white.
Which is literally all it means.
Yeah.
So when somebody says women of color, so you go, you mean everyone but white? No, exactly. I mean women of color, which means what? Does that include white women? No. So you mean everybody but white women? Okay, go on.
Exactly. But sorry to go on a little tangent there, but
no, I don't think you're wrong at all, because that is. I remember watching Sargon interview Zuby, and it was one of the first points he made. He goes, I don't even understand why we have this word. Yeah. Like people of color? He goes, because that just means not white. Because I can say that in less words and less syllables. Not white. There. Then I was like, yeah, you're not wrong. And, well, the reason why is it's social power grab. It's always the power grab. Which relates directly to this article where they start talking about the dovetailing of feminism and supremacy. It's a bullshit article, and it's painful to read. Let me just give you the first sentence is 2 words. White feminism, period. Mm-hmm. Simply using the term wrangles. White people don't like being called white. It's taken as a threat that they might suffer the fate of the other one day. Okay, so she's a mind reader. Whiteness is meant to confer a kind of invisibility. Now she's explaining how all of society works to you. It is meant to mask the power and privilege it has granted itself. And now she shows her incredibly racist worldview. Nice. It is meant to it's meant to obfuscate. Nice. It is meant to place the white person above being questioned. Whiteness is a construct. It doesn't mean it isn't real. You live in the Western world, don't you? This woman, you clearly, obviously, painfully obviously live in the Western world. Because you're not talking about black privilege in Africa, and you are not talking about yellow privilege anywhere in Asia, and you're not talking about brown privilege in the Middle East or in South Asia.
It's funny. There was a guy who posted something on Twitter the other day who was going on about, like, if you could change your race, what would you, from what your parents, what you were born and what you were, if like your parents picked your race and then you picked your race after when you turned 18, what would you do? And it was like, your parents pick black and then white. The options on his poll were like all ended up with white, no matter what it was. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is, my reply to him was, wow, this is a very American-centric poll here. And he says, did you vote? And I'm like, why would I vote in such an obviously rigged poll? It's obvious that the only thing you care about is American culture, because if you look anywhere else in the world, being white is not the advantage that you think it is, with the exception of America and North America and Europe.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I go to South America and tell me about white privilege. You clearly live in the Western world and in the Northern Hemisphere of it somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's obvious, because this is the only place where arguments like this would get any play, because they wouldn't make any sense anywhere else. And that you would get paid to write them, which she does, which I'm going to talk about, because I'm not going through this whole article. It's insane. There is what in this Zora article is called a top highlight, where there's one paragraph that is highlighted and is meant to be the main takeaway, and it speaks volumes. White feminists do not want equality. They want power. Specifically, they want the same privileges and immunities as white men. Their struggle is about climbing to the top rung of the oppressor class. It's why smashing the glass ceiling is so central to the narrative. There is room for only so many people at the top, though, and widening the applicant pool is a bad strategy. The result? White feminists tell on themselves whenever race comes up. Okay. I can pull so much out of this that the rest of your article doesn't need to be read, except for one thing that we'll read for just comedy. Okay? I just backtrack, but it's okay because this is for comedy. There's a long history of white women choosing to align themselves with the power of whiteness instead of seeking their own liberation. The 53% of them that voted for Donald Trump is the most obvious contemporary cohort. You didn't have the intellectual integrity or the intellectual bravery to write your underlying assumption in that statement. You simply said it, assuming that the people who read it shared the same axioms that you do.
What
Donald
site
Trump,
is this again?
Zora, Z-O-R-A.
Oh, okay.
The underlying assumption, the axiom is this. Donald Trump is looking to oppress women. If you vote for Donald Trump, you are voting for your own oppression. So why would you? Well, Donald Trump is also what? A white supremacist. So if you're a white woman, you're voting against your own liberation for the sake of your race. And that's not me reading into her words. That's me simply making sense and elucidating her underlying assumptions of how anyone could make that statement. Women have a history of aligning themselves with the power of whiteness instead of seeking their own liberation. The 53% of them who voted for Donald Trump are the evidence. They align themselves with white supremacy instead of their own liberation by voting for Trump. That's how far gone this person is into their worldview. And I bring that up just for comedy. Like, really, you actually thought that was evidence to anybody except for a full-blown identity Marxist like yourself? She uses that line, the result white feminists tell on themselves whenever race comes up. No. You tell on yourself whenever you talk. You spill your own tea and display your own receipts whenever you talk about race. Because you reveal exactly what kind of an identitarian Marxist you are without even realizing it. Because your assumptions are laden throughout your writing, and you assume that everyone else holds them too. Oh, you're going to get what I'm saying, right? No. No, I'm not. You just told on yourself. You are made it clear to everyone who isn't assuming the same things that you are. I love that. But let's go back to this top highlight paragraph here. There is room for only so many people at the top, and she refers to the top rung of the oppressor class. Their struggle, meaning white women's struggle, is about climbing to the top rung of the oppressor class. The oppressor class? Go ahead and argue with me that you're not a philosophical Marxist. She wouldn't, because she is.
There's a phrase that I want to say, but I can't say it because we're on stream. They're implying that white women are trying to be the house N-word. That's what they're trying to say.
Woo! That's spicy, Eve. Whoa!
It is spicy, but it's true. They're trying to say you're trying to be the head of the oppressed.
Yeah, and you're not wrong, because she's arguing.
You're still going to be oppressed, but you're trying to be on top of the pile, so you get to boss everyone else below you, and it's like.
And I understand what you're saying. You just put it in very spicy terminology, because you're saying you're willing to, you're white, so you'll be able to get pretty high up that oppression ladder. But at least, and as a woman, you'll only be able to get so high, but you'll be able to get higher than every other woman of color. So therefore,
even Mustafa agrees with me, so I'm okay.
Mustafa's pretty much.
He agrees with my phrasing.
She says there's only room. There is room, rather, for only so many people at the top, though. Through your oppressor-oppressed worldview, that would be true. You know where it's equally true and more demonstrably true? And I don't have to come up with a Marxist ideology of that there always is an oppressor class in Marxist ideology. There has to be. And this is your worldview. You've just replaced the capitalists with the whites. Now, that's not even close to being true in China. Of course, the whole theory breaks down. Doesn't matter. Moving on. Don't look over there. I mean, the most populated place in the world throughout world history, South Asia and Asia, the entire Asian Pacific.
They really don't
There's
want to look over there right now because they've been rioting and.
well, I just mean there's no there. When has white power ever reigned supreme over there? It never has. So what the fuck are you talking about? You can't replace.
But Polly,
They
bleach their skin and want pale skin over there.
Oh
not
man!
because it's actually been associated with
But
wealth and power for
they're all the
millennia
same.
before.
But they're all the same race. They're taking Marxist theory of oppressor and oppressed, and saying there's a ruling oppressor class, and they're trying to put the capitalist owners of the means of production out of there and put race in there. Except it doesn't hold as soon as you look at a place like China or India or Pakistan or anywhere in the Middle East. It just doesn't even make sense. It only works if you're somebody like her, a woman of color who views the world through a Marxist, racist, ideological lens, and you live in the northern Western hemisphere.
Honestly, their argument would be stronger if they went for the class argument. It really would, because I've looked at a lot of things and say, no, that's not, because there's like, what was it? Lori Loughlin, who got away with basically, and her friend who basically got away with paying their kids into the college positions that they wanted, basically bought their kids degrees and stuff, and got so much trouble because they had done so illegally, and basically got slaps on the wrist for it when they went to court, like 16 days of probation, I think was what her friend got. Not the it wasn't Lori Loughlin, it was her friend who got. I forget what the other woman's name was now.
Yeah, I forget the woman who's married to William H. Macy. I forget her name too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she got like 16 days of probation was her punishment, and like people are like, well, this is white privilege, and it's like, no, it's not white privilege, because if you look at that, what that really is that I couldn't go up there and get that same treatment, and I'm white. What that is a privilege of the rich and entitled.
Would kind of explain how OJ got off, wouldn't it?
Exactly. OJ's exactly the point.
It would kind of explain why P. Diddy, looking at a attempted murder charge for shooting up a New York club, who also hired Johnny Cochran, connection up.
Felicity Huffman. Thank you, Assassin and Mr.
Felicity Huffman. Didn't serve. No, I get it. It's like there is a problem where people who cannot hire the best legal defense possible, people that have the wealth to access the best legal advice, legal counsel, and legal defense possible, are going to see instances where people who can't get that kind of protection are not going to see those kinds of instances of justice visit them. Yeah, that's a problem, but it's not a problem of race. It's not an instant thing where the judge sees you and then, we're going to decide on the time.
Roman says OJ was innocent, though. You need to sit down. There's a corner over there for you.
OJ was innocent.
The corner of the end of the bar, Ramen.
Yeah, Ramen. I'm
regulated. You've had too much to drink. You're regulated to milk for the rest of the night.
Holy shit! People are still giving him drinks? God damn, what's wrong with the bartenders in this place?
You hired them.
No, I might have. I don't remember.
I don't remember. I was drinking at the time.
I can hand out drinks, Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, come on. The thing that I want to point out, and I think Zelthor in chat might be one of the few people that I know that definitely watches Sargon videos. I'm sure a bunch of other people do as well, but Zelthor is definitely going to know what I'm talking about. He did a video, and it relates directly to Zora. I'm not jumping subjects here. It's just how the oppressive stack works in the real world over time. The whole TERF versus trans women thing that's going on. Bunch of TERF feminists get together and they're having a little, policy meeting.
Air quotes in your voice.
What's that?
It's almost I can almost hear the air quotes in your voice.
When I'm saying TERF or trans women?
TERF.
Oh, well, didn't mean to actually, but okay. TERF.
It was just kind of the way you said, but please continue.
So they're all getting together for the TERFs. They're getting together for, a policy meeting, a demonstration, whatever it is they're doing. They're doing it in some kind of building. A whole bunch of super progressive activists show up, shouting them down for being transphobic. They've got placards. They've got signs. They've got megaphones. They're yelling. They're protesting. They're doing all the things that protesters, really harsh progressive protesters do, right? They're not breaking nothing, but they're fucking shit up, And The one woman who's a TERF, and she's recording this with her cell phone, walking around, being used to her rebel privilege as a feminist, as a radical feminist, is camera recording all the cops and saying, and here's a whole bunch of activists demonstrating, and the cops are doing nothing. They're harassing women, and the cops are just standing here. Sargon made so much hay out of that, and I'm like, go, Carl, go. Think of the words that she's picking. They're harassing women, not harassing people. They're harassing women, because that is usually when the police are going to get involved. I'm a feminist. I'm a woman. The state comes and protects me because we're the protesters, right? Well, what happens when you're being protested? Because, and I love the way Carl Benjamin said this, I'm sorry, honey, or love, I think he said in his British way, because I'm sorry, love, but the trans women are more oppressed than you are. So that means the cops do nothing and you put up with it.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, and that's the blunt truth of it. There is a progressive stack. Guess what? The trans women have it harder than you do as a biological cis woman. It doesn't matter that you're a feminist. It doesn't matter that you think the cops should be acting at your behest. Do you remember when you and your friends or supported people who did go protest the MRA meeting and the cops didn't do nothing? Remember, you understand what I mean? I mean, that you were the feminist protesting the MRA meeting. Yelling and screaming, and those bigots in there. Now you're being called the bigot because guess what? You actually happen to be a few rungs lower on the progressive stack.
And we actually see this happening a lot more because one by one, we keep seeing these groups come up against each other, and they keep saying that oppression isn't a scale, that nobody is, it isn't like one person is more oppressed than the other. We just have to acknowledge that our oppression exists and blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, and they have pit one against the other, it's like, who is more oppressed? Are black people more oppressed than trans people? Obviously, cisgendered women are not as oppressed as trans people are because we keep seeing them constantly lose out and constantly having to bow down and kowtow to trans women. It's they're eating themselves at this point, and it happens more and more lately. Jessica Yaniv is a perfect example.
Right.
I believe the first instance we ever heard of with that was Yaniv intentionally went to this place knowing that he whatever would get turned down, that they would get turned down, and the guy who owned the place's reasoning was, look, the only person I had on staff who could have done that wax was a Muslim woman who would honestly doesn't care what Yaniv identifies as and would have refused to make physical contact with Yaniv. She would have just point blank said, no, I'm not going to touch that person. You need to find someone else. I did not have anybody on staff that day who could have done that wax for Yaniv. So who do you respect more in that instance? Do you respect the Muslim woman's beliefs because she's a brown woman, or do you respect the trans woman's right to get a wax more? I'm air quoting here, right to get a bikini wax, and they're put in this awkward position of they have to start stacking the oppression chain up and saying who's more oppressed than who, or it's all going to fall apart on them. And that's going to start hurting a lot of people's feelings. Eve is on top of the oppression ladder and is now bargaining. Apparently I am. Oppression. Does anybody know what true oppression is anymore? Yeah, I know, right?
Well, okay, the thing that stands out to me mostly about this and why I brought it over to what Sargon was talking about in that video is because we're going to go back to the Zora article. I wasn't even segueing off of something. It directly relates. That's why smashing the glass ceiling is so central to their narrative. She says here, there's only room for so many people at the top. She's talking about her Marxist, racial worldview. No. There's only so many people at the top of your oppression stack. And the difference here is your Marxist fucking bullshit is a bunch of fantasy made up by people that want to create a victim narrative because it's everlasting. The axiom that you proceed on is that there is an oppressor and there is an oppressed. Now we just have to find it. That's the fucking fantasy. You want to talk about the fucking reality? Is a fucking progressive stack. Are you trying to say, woman of color, that you are as oppressed as the trans woman of color, or the disabled trans woman of color, or the disabled blind in a wheelchair trans woman of color who was born intersex? You're not. You're multiple steps beneath each one of those people that I just named, and that's the argument that you've created, and you're arguing against white fucking feminists aligning themselves with white supremacy. You're arguing the stack into existence right now through this article that you're being paid for, the whole time fantasizing that through a Marxist lens that it's all about race. Well, you're creating the very stack that is going to haunt you one day. When the trans people show up to protest you because they're one rung higher. One actual, in reality, rung higher of oppression, according to your own fucking system.
And that's the thing we've been telling them since day one. You start down this road, it's going to snowball, and it's going to come back and bite all of you in the ass, because you're going to take this 0.0001% of people and escalate them above all others because they are so oppressed, even though they're really not, even though they bring a lot of it on themselves just by putting themselves in the spotlight. And you're just gonna put yourselves at the bottom, and it's gonna blow up in your face. It's going to come back to bite you. And look at what we have.
I can't, it can't happen fast enough. And the idea of a system of beliefs that's ultimately in practice, performatively, it's based in denouncement. This is better than that. This is more righteous than that. This is more woke than that. And rank ordering and sorting all of them. That's the performative action of wokeness, of the social narrative that she is personally involved in. Feminism is fine, but it's not the same kind of feminism that women of color deal with, therefore it's lower. And then there's the most disreputable, disgusting person of all, someone like me, a straight white cis male. Ooh.
I first started seeing the hints of it when they were saying things like, there were articles coming out like black men are the cishet white men of black people. Like, seriously, that was a headline for an article.
I would have to unpack that to even get it.
It's basically saying, well, yeah, we say that, cishet white men are the worst thing, but right below them, and then the second worst thing is black men, because, or say that I think they would put white women. No, I don't know. Is women more oppressed? I don't know. Is skin color or gender more? I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really see. This is the problem: is when you start getting into stacking this hierarchy, it becomes really uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Hopefully, Katanya Harrison over here. It's like she writes essays, and when I went over to her Patreon, because I always get interested in stuff like that, Katanya Harrison is creating essays. You got to put creating something, creating videos, creating content. She wrote, she's creating essays. Oh, that's nice. She writes novels. Can you imagine the novels that this person comes out with? On May 6, 2018, okay, I've tried and failed rather spectacularly over the past few years to make a living writing. When you write crap like this that's totally based in racist fantasies, I wonder why. It's going to appeal to a very small themarysue.com style market. And if you want, you could have done a little bit of market research and found out how well Everyday Feminism, for example, was doing. How many that more people, according to polls, identify as anti-feminists and feminists. That should have been assigned to you about something that, I'm not quite sure why I didn't give up. Nevertheless, here I am, and I found a crack to slip through. On May 6, I started an account and started posting essays focusing on the intersection of pop culture and politics. To my surprise, it took off. I also write fiction as Harrison Kitteridge, and I have had a Patreon account with 0 patrons under that name. I double-checked, it's true. She has 19 patrons, all of them at the $2 amount per month. Now, this isn't even me going like neener. It's just you write extremely hateful content. You know what's also true? Stormfront.com doesn't do very well. Because you are extreme, fringe, bizarro racists. At least in the way you write, you come across that way. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not a hateful person, but you certainly come across like you are in your writing. You don't seem to mind being publicly seen that way. Yeah, Assassin of the Greys is essays or Dear Diary screeds. Yeah. What explanation can I come up with, and how many moving parts can I plug into this concept of mine whereby I am an eternal victim because of my skin color, and it's the Illuminati, I mean white people, controlling it all?
I mean white people.
It can't stand up to, like, Marxism racial theory can't stand up to the slightest amount of scrutiny. It gets blown away like dry leaves at the slightest push. It's just people don't push back against it. News entertainers certainly don't. So we have this idea of white privilege. The person who worked their ass off to get the job that they have should push back on you. You shouldn't let your white guilt that came from whatever the fuck get you to not speak about that. Stop hiring people that spew racist garbage. Looking at you, CNN. Looking at you, MSNBC. I mean, how many contributors on CNN spew outright racist crap, but it's at white folks, so it's fine? Oh, that's not stirring racial animosity.
Not at all.
Right.
Because the white people should sit down and shut up and not listen, not have a say in this. They should just take what's coming to them, because they've lived in power for centuries now, and blah 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 blah. And it's, so I'm held responsible for what some motherfuckers did a couple of centuries ago, which, by the way, my ancestors had nothing to do with, because they were out there in the fields picking cotton next to the black folks. So I mean, you want to talk about systematic oppression and stuff? Let's talk about what the Irish had to go through.
Yeah. Ebony Williams makes an interesting point. She said to you, living in a state of constant victimhood is exhausting and unnecessary. That seems like a clear and reasonable point to me. Moreover, living in any kind of heightened psychological reality is exhausting. Paranoid, for example, paranoid schizophrenics constantly crash because everyone's out to get me. You know what I mean? Living, the breakdown of guerrilla warriors in like actual warfare, guerrilla combatants, they break down so fast. Gee, I wonder why. They're in a constant heightened psychological state. Human beings weren't built, designed to maintain that. Nobody can keep that heightened state of reality up for long. People get involved in these things and then drift away from them. The only people that stay in it are those that make a paying career out of it, and those are the race hustlers and the race pimps, and you'll find them on news networks and on campus. Only the people that are paid to do it at a slow, leisurely pace can keep it up over time. Everybody else gives up on it because the tension's too high and they're not getting paid for it.
Johnny Borsacco is asking me about the phrase intersectional oppression that I used. If you want a good breakdown of what they purport intersectional oppression to be, I believe Scribelight has some pretty good videos that he's done on it, on people who have tried to explain intersectional oppression, and he, bless his heart, goes through the video and tries to sound it out as rationally as he can and explain it to the best of his ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of double talk and a lot of it's really hard for me to explain, but Scribe does a really good job of it. He's got, just looking through his videos, I'm sure he's got them labeled as such. Something about intersectional oppression will be in the title. It is a headache and a half.
Well, yeah, for our purposes here, and I'm not trying to say that this is definitive, but it deals with quite literally what it says, the intersections of oppression. There's multiple kinds of oppression, and they often intersect. So meaning, You're oppressed as a woman, and you also happen to be black. So therefore, you have black oppression you're dealing with, and you have female oppression you're dealing with, and they intersect with you. You're the intersection of those two oppressions. And then you could have multiple ones, because what happens if you're a lesbian as well? And these overlapping oppressions, all kinds of constructs and structures and arguments come out of them. A whole lot of hay is made of that very basic, simple premise.
But the entire thing comes off as we're saying this so that we can say we're more oppressed than you, but we're not actually saying that we're more oppressed than you, because you're just black, but like Polly is on the top of the hierarchy because he is a white cis heterosexual male, and then Mustafa is a rung below him because he is a black cisgendered heterosexual male. And then so on and so forth down the line, and you just keep adding people's oppression up. But it's not really like that, because nobody is better than anybody. Nobody is more oppressed than another person. It's just we need to understand how oppression intersects. But nobody is more oppressed than the next person. Just so we're clear, nobody's more oppressed. But we're going to line up all your oppression anyway and just compare who is more oppressed. It's so back and forth double talk that just gives you a fucking headache.
Yeah.
They don't clarify that, but then they still want to add it up that way. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It's just not how it works.
Oh, hell, Polly, you better leave Poppy alone, you bastard. I've never screwed with Pop-Tart in a way that she didn't forgive me for eventually.
Eventually. Wait, time out. Polly's white. Uh-oh. We doxed you, Polly.
Oh my god.
Midnight Exiles, this is not the Pornhub video at bookmarked. Kick Polly.
That's good. How the hell did this happen?
Ebony says, like I said, exhausting and unnecessary. Exactly. It's just such a mind game. They want to just come right out and say, okay, X person is more oppressed than Y person because, X person is lower on the rung because they have more intersections, but they won't. They won't just be upfront and honest about it. And it's so frustrating.
Because it's so strange, because it's like there's so many oppressions in the white patriarchal system. The more oppressions you can create, the longer you can talk. And remember, performatively, like, what is the actual performance of it? What is it what is it you're doing? What's the actual actions of the thing? Well, that is the question. Chat, if there's any takeaway from this at all that you walk away with tonight, or this subject part of the stream, take that away. What's the performative part of this? What are they doing? What they're saying is like, okay, we can describe it as harebrained nonsense where they just blah, blah, blah. What is it they're doing? What's the actual actions of these ideologies? It's denouncement. It's stacking, ordering, and sorting people based upon how many intersections of oppression they have.
But let's be clear, we're not actually stacking, ordering, and sorting people based on how many intersections they have.
No, that's
we're stacking, ordering, and sorting people based on how many intersections they have.
Yeah. They would argue they're identifying intersections of oppression for the purpose of liberation. What is the performance of liberation that you're taking? It's through the identification of them, because if we don't know that they're there, we can't see that they're there. Okay, and how does that happen? We call them out. We engage in call-out culture. This is racist, that's sexist, that's bigoted. So the performative reality, the hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute reality of adhering to this ideology is to call things bigoted, racist, and sexist. Because if not that, then what would be my question? If that isn't the sole performative action of this ideology, what is? What else is there to it? Well, you read books written by people. Okay, that's studying the thing, not the action of the thing. What is the thing? Oh, well, calling it out so we can identify it. So it's denouncement. The action of SJW culture is denouncement. Anyone who's been on YouTube, you already know what I'm saying is, it's like, yeah, Polly, we get it. Yeah, but it's just now put in formal terms, right? They have nothing. They have nothing else but denouncement to take the moral high ground and say you're bad for doing this.
There was somebody I came across, and I've never watched any of his videos, and I don't think I've watched one since. There was this guy who did a video on the whole Blair White Jessica Yaniv debate, and he actually went and he did something I haven't seen a lot of people do. He went and talked to a friend of his who's a psychologist, and that's the reason why this stuck out in my head when I watched the video. Was this friend of his is like, you start breaking down Yaniv's behavior, and you start to see somebody who has an abusive personality. And one of the things that he pointed out about people with abusive personalities is when they know they can't logically beat you. So what they do is they say crazy things in order to exasperate and exhaust you. And I think, who was it that said something about exhausting? I think it was Seraphim Scythe said they want to exhaust you with murky language. That's exactly it. They want to
Right.
exhaust you with murky language. They want to make you get so frustrated that you give up. And it is a sign of actually abusive personality disorders, because you cannot be in, because a person is losing control of the situation. So what they do is they make you just get frustrated, so you walk away because they're saying stupid, crazy stuff.
Oh,
Which is why so much double talk was rolled into this.
I really dig the pithy wording here, Midnight in Exile. It's also large-scale ritual scapegoating. Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Large-scale ritual scapegoating. That describes so many things that I watch when people make political speeches. There's the enemy, that's who's at fault. If not the enemy, there's the oppressor. There's the one who's at fault. You did nothing wrong. You know what I mean? It's guilt alleviation. Holy shit. Where do I get a phone that vibrates as strongly as yours? Jesus
my
Christ.
Discord went to sleep, so all the messages got pushed to my my phone at once. And so like some of my servers that I have like all the messages on, they just all get forwarded to my phone at once. So it's like 30, 40 messages at once.
Yeah, I mean, formerly Rod Lane brings it. So you're saying all animals equal, but some are more equal than others. Yes, Animal Farm is a legendary book, and I'm not saying I want, the House on Un-American Activities hearings to come back, but would a little bit of a Red Scare really be so bad? Maybe a little bit. Run some of the commies out of town. Would that really be the worst thing? Just ask him.
Who has music playing in the background? That would be Mr. Polynup. He's playing some nice jazz noir music for the Noir Bar.
I'm the bartender here, and I enjoy some mild, soothing jazz.
It's actually kind of ironic that you're having this noir bar and set in like an old-fashioned speakeasy that's like, which was illegal back in the day. So they had to hide them. They put them in the back rooms of general stores and things like that. And you had to know a guy who knew where it was and knew the password to get you in. And then things like that to be able to go in there and drink. And it's kind of like some of these conversations that we have is like, if we couldn't just go out to our friends in real life and express these opinions and have these conversations, because either A, they look at us like we were crazy, or because they don't understand the culture that we're dealing with right here, or B, we would have the wrong opinions and people would just stop associating with us, or at the least or worse, they would shout us down and tell us how horrible we are and we must be racist Trump supporters for even having this conversation. And I find it kind of ironic that we're having it in this, the Noir Bar is this clandestine speakeasy where you
got to know a guy, and the guy is me.
Exactly. That it's like a secret place for doing things that shouldn't be socially unacceptable, but somehow are, like drinking. Back in the 20s and 30s when or I'm not exactly sure on my time zones there, back during the Prohibition era.
Yeah, it was 20s.
Is Quaalude still the password to get in? No, I think we had to change it because people started tweeting it out, monkey. And so we had to change it so that the coppers wouldn't get in.
Oh, man.
So who is more oppressed, LGBT or non-white? See, they'll never actually give you that answer, Mr. Monopoly. They will never give you a straight answer on that, which is why these fights are happening between them, because they're not really sure who stacks higher.
And if you listen to it long enough, It.
His password is stair railings. Oh my god, Pop-Tart.
Wow. Das coal. Das some coal shit, Pop-Tart. Wow. The That's in the Gray says you still need a 1911 on the deal next to your martini glass. Yes, but this is like a idealized noir bar. So I actually don't have my 1911, my M&P 40. So that's what happens to be on the bar today. The other thing I wanted to get into was Quaaludes. What's a Quaalude? A wonderful pharmaceutical that was ruined by disco hopheads.
Mr. Noopoly, Google it. Just Google it, dear. The explanation that way is shorter.
It was a sleep aid that people took as a psychoactive drug that they used for like off-label usage to get all high and crazy and stuff. And people like me, who suffer from clinical insomnia, can't get a hold of it anymore because a bunch of 70s pill-popping hopheads. You never hear that phrase anymore for pill poppers, do you? Hopheads? I only ever hear it come up in movies.
No.
You can't trust that guy. He's a hophead.
But like I said, it's like, because they're sitting there talking about and Assassin said I was exiled by my high school friends last summer of these divisive politics. It seems like that because it's like you can't. We're sitting here speaking our minds and speaking freely about these kind of things because there's this level of anonymity first off, which protects us, thank God, and it's like I said. So I feel like a speakeasy is the perfect example of that, like just a clandestine place where you can go and be yourself and kick back and relax and speak your mind and feel at ease, and I really like the metaphor there personally.
Well, thank you. It was all intentional.
Of course. Didn't have anything to do with the fact you just like noir and
well, you know what's funny is that Razorfist is a big fan of noir, right? Razorfist, the content creator on YouTube. Now, huge fan of noir, and somebody was suggesting to me over in a chat that I should, it's like, you should invite him over, just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, man, he'd be all over this as not being pure noir. It's like, first of all, there's color, like it's the golden hue, late night. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's not supposed to be on film because most noir films, well, all classic noir films are black and white, very stark, high contrast. Even like to come in, honestly. Love to have them, though. So let me ask you a question, Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen any blaxploitation films?
I want to say that I have, but I couldn't tell you what the name of it was off the top of my head, so I couldn't say that I've seen an entire one, but I do find them entertaining. Some of them were just so over the top ridiculous it wasn't even funny, but
Oh God, yeah. Oh,
or actually it was funny because it was so over the top ridiculous.
absolutely. I mean, when you get into the Devil's Son-in-Law, anything Rudy Ray Moore, basically, a Disco Godfather, the films were, they weren't B films; they were like triple Z films. They were so low budget and bad. People will point out in major Hollywood productions or at least feature films, it's like, oh my God, you can see the boom mic coming from the top. I defy you to find a scene where there isn't a boom mic in it. In a Rudy Ray Moore film, you could see the cameraman laying on the ground filming it and people bumping into the camera during fight scenes where it looks like none of the punches connect. Like, that's the really low down blaxploitation. I'm a big fan of the genre in general because there's a lot. I'm a big fan of 70s films in general. One of my favorite films is The French Connection, classic 70s detective film, and it has Gene Hackman, one of the greatest actors of all time. How much for one rib? That is a very good inside reference, sir. I'm impressed. That was pretty fucking obscure. It's a blaxploitation. I
I feel like I need to see a few of these just for the experience.
The Mandingo one is Mandingo one. Yes, but that was see, blaxploitation is like black exploitation. So like exploitation films, like if Quiz was here or Jack, they would know about I Spit on Your Grave. Classic exploitation film, drive-in movie films. They exploited one genre or another. So Halloween, the original Halloween from 78, I believe, is seen as like a classic exploitation film where it's a stabby villain that's just killing babysitters for no apparent reason other than he's an escaped mental patient. There's no story. The story is the fear of this person on the run. So it's exploiting fear. You know what I mean? All the Friday the 13th films are exploitative. The idea of blaxploitation films is they contain a lot of sex, a lot of violence, except that they've got a black cast, hence black exploitation, blaxploitation. Some of that's true, I guess, but like the less exploitative in terms of violence and sex of the genre tend to be my favorites, and they tend to be the most well-remembered ones. Superfly is a great example. It's a great story. It's a fantastic story, very well acted. I mean, it's really well done. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. You know how many people I've run into that think Superfly is about a pimp? It's like, no. And then, like, yeah, Superfly, he's a pimp. I'm like, there's no character named Superfly. He is Superfly. Like, it would be like if the film was called Badass. That's not the guy's name. The guy's name does sound pretty made up, though. Priest Youngblood. Sounds a little made up, maybe. A little bit. But, he's super cool. It's fine. It's fine. He goes around the whole time going, priest. And then I thought the first time I saw the film that his mentor, Scatterman, kept calling him Youngblood. And I thought he was calling him Youngblood because he had kind of, taken him under his wing as a kid and shown him the ways and kept him out of very serious trouble, that kind of thing. So he kept calling him Youngblood, like young man or son, that kind of thing. And then I see the credits roll at the end of the film and it's like, no, his name is actually Priest Youngblood.
His name is Priest Youngblood. God damn.
Played by the legendary Ron O'Neal, who's actually a classically trained actor. And it shows because he is out acting everybody in every scene that he's in. Those kind of movies where there's one actor who's just so goddamn good, he makes everyone else just look awful. Like they're pretending. That's that kind of thing. Great movie. Shaft is another one. And it pains me so badly that whenever Shaft will come up, people will go, talk about Shaft. He's a bad mother. The song by Isaac Hayes, and it's of course a legendary song. I love it too. It plays as a great theme song for Shaft when he's doing the things he's doing in the movie and for the intro credit roll. It works great. But people know the song more than the movie. The movie's fantastic. You should go watch it. Do you have any idea what it's about, Eve? Have you ever seen it?
Mm-mm.
He's a private detective in Harlem. There. That's it.
That's it.
Well, meaning like that's the setting, if you will. That's the main deal of what it's about. He is Sam Spade. He's Philip Marlowe. He's a classic noir private detective who's knows a bunch of cops, but he isn't popular amongst the cops because he's a troublemaker. He knows all kinds of guys that are in the underworld doing the street thing, but they don't trust him because he's a private detective who knows a bunch of cops. So he lives in between these worlds. That's Philip Marlowe, and that's Sam Spade, and that's John Shaft. It's that classic fictional private detective. And trouble ends up coming their way, usually in the form of a sexy woman. Some sexy woman will show up and say, hey, I need help. Only you can help me. And you'll be like, yeah, okay, honey, what's the problem? And blah, blah, blah. And one small thing will lead to another thing, and unrolling amounts of difficulties for this private detective who never gets paid what his work is actually worth. It's
Sounds like a Harry Dresden novel. Sans the monsters and fantasy stuff. Like it, you know, just constantly. He starts out as something simple, like he just gets a quest to find a mission to find a missing ring, and it broils into him stopping a war between the two Fey courts and
Nice.
stopping the end of the world, basically. Because if either one of them completely overtakes the other, the entire balance of the planet is thrown off, and we either plunge into an endless winter or a sweltering summer that kills all life on the planet. So
Assassin of the Grey's right. John Carpenter defined the slasher movie with Halloween. He did. I mean, I've talked to on Monkey in the Morning about this a little bit. There was a while back that I went and excuse me, reviewed all of the movies that I needed to see that everyone had talked about. I was frustrated at not having ever seen them. Heard about them forever though, and Halloween was one of them. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I get it. I get this. Why this was popular. I understand. It's tense as fuck. Not scary. It's the tension of when is Michael Myers going to jump out and stab somebody, and it's not played for comedy value like the Friday the 13th films are. It's great. It really fucking works. Halloween is a fantastic film. John Carpenter's he's the man, no question. The what he mentions, like Mr. Monopoly's SS Experiment Camp is a 1970 Nazi exploitation film. God, there were a lot of Nazi exploitation films in the 70s. Really bad drive-in films like Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Whew. That, I think Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS is much more of an exploitation film and the greatest example of one of all time, much more than I Spit on Your Grave was. A Spit on Your Grave is about a woman who gets raped and then goes on a revenge trip for everybody who was involved. And it's bloody and gory, and she's cutting off dicks and just, Wait, Friday the 13th is a comedy? Yeah. Like, not the original one. Like, the first Friday the 13th isn't a comedy. I don't think the second one is, but, like, have you ever seen, like, Jason Takes Manhattan? Try and tell me that that's not played for laughs, and Part 6, A New Blood. I saw them all, but it was so long ago. But there's so many internet reviewers, like people on YouTube that review movies that have done it, and they have all the relevant hot clips, particular clips of the kills are played for comedy value. Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, there comes a certain point when you realize you have to embrace the meme.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
become like a joke and campiness, like that 80s level of horror, may have worked back then, but nowadays people look at it and they just laugh. So in order to stay relevant, you either have to up your game, which is what the remakes tried to do, or you have to, like Jason in Space. Like, it's so campy and so silly. You have to embrace it a little bit. Evil Dead went that way because they realized how campy and silly the first movie was,
Right.
despite actually being kind of scary. When they made the sequel and then Army of Darkness after that, they just went okay, we're just going to meme the hell out of this. It's going to be a joke. And it worked. It worked for them and had a particularly scary horror element to it, but it was just so silly that no one could really take it seriously at the same time. And it really captured that and has carried that into its cult fandom that it is. And in the same way with some of those Jason movies, they just kind of, Freddy versus Jason was hilarious. I watched every Friday the 13th. Yeah.
I've never seen Jason in Space. Like, is it Jason in Space, like Jason gets aboard a space shuttle, or is it like in the future?
It is like in the future, I believe.
Okay.
It's like future Jason. He keeps coming back in it for so often, and then somehow he ends up on a spaceship. I've actually played a couple of. I was an adventure game that was very similarly based, because the first game took place in like an old mansion or something like that, and then the sequel took place on a spaceship. Hologram Jason. Oh, okay, that's interesting. But the sequel took place on a spaceship, and it was the same killer, but somehow the the key elements, like I think it was the welding mask that the killer wore or something like that. That was what he was tied to. His spirit was tied to. So it ended up somehow on the space station. I forget what it was, and so he started killing all the people on the station. And it was kind of interesting, but also completely terrifying to play as a point and click adventure game, because you'd be sitting there just investigating a room. You know how point and click adventure games work, Polly.
Sure.
You're sitting there just clicking around the room, and all of a sudden, the door busts open. And you got to beat feet and get the fuck out. No more investigation. You need to get the hell out of there and lose the killer. And it was terrifying.
That is one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most about my new computer when I manage to make it work. Excuse me, he's gonna take some Tylenol here. My head is throbbing pretty badly. Filter says we're going on a trip.
Victory knows exactly what I'm talking about.
In our rocket ship. Okay. I thought you legitimately meant you were going somewhere in the world. You're just referencing something I don't understand. I'm looking forward to, with the new computer I'm going to get, is being able to actually play video games. Not your fancy first-person shooter MMORPGs. I forget which letters are doubled and which ones aren't. I don't really care either. I'm impressed that you guys can put up with it. When I see the level of competition that happens, I remember when I was talking to Pete, Pete from Australia, Pete, and I was talking to him about PUBG. I think it was PUBG we were talking. Like, but man, you hear them on the game and they're like this psychological, like trying to fuck with each other to get them a little bit off their game so you can take advantage and do this thing and so on. I'm like, the competition is like, it's so hostile and intense. And I'm like describing it like, isn't that awful? And then in the middle of this description, Pete goes, yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's like, I love that shit. Oh, man. Well, there you go. There you go. There's definitely a huge market for it. Me, I'm looking forward to a mystery adventure game kind of thing.
A mystery adventure kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
I think you should play the series we're talking about then, Polly. I'll link it to you. It would probably run on your potato right now. They're not very demanding. And even if it didn't, they're free games. So they're very deep, dark storylines, and it's just like you finished the third one, you're left going, fuck. No, I'm just excited because Victory's the first person who's ever, when I've mentioned those games, has just got it right off. And I'm like, someone I can identify with on this that actually played those games and knows what I'm talking about. They were so niche. It was during my days as a teenager when I was broke and had no money and was like, I want to play a new game, but I don't have any money, so I'm going to start looking for freeware stuff on the internet of like, not, like torrented stuff, but like games that people just put out for free.
Eve doesn't torrent, guys.
Eve does not like to torrent games.
I mean, she's no criminal lady.
I like to support game developers because they work hard on their stuff and then they don't get paid for it. So, but no, I stumbled across it by accident, and everybody I brought it up to, people know who the creator is. He's fairly prominent in video game circles and video game reviewing, but you mentioned those games and everybody's like, what was it? Because it was just him trying his hand at making a video game using Adventure Game Studio, and he did a fantastic job. I was just so impressed with the entire series.
You know what's funny? My testing ground for games, this is anyone who's listened to me say it before, is watching Razor Fist's Arcade, because he does play-alongs or let's plays rather, and I love his game streams because it's him answering questions and talking, and that's the best part. But then you get to see all these different games, and he plays wildly different types of games. And I end up saying, here's the games that I've seen, and I want to try this. And people are like, there's no connection between those games. Stop saying you like a certain style of game. Those games have nothing to do with each other. Like, okay, sorry.
I don't know. I make weird connections between things too. I'll be like, oh, but this is the same as this, right? And everybody looks at me like, no, you're crazy, Eve. Hush.
Well, sometimes the people are right. Like, you know, it's like you don't want to play first person shooters, but, or, you know, anything along those lines kind of thing. And it's like, but you're a gun guy. And I'm like, yeah, but I can go to an actual range and shoot my actual guns. So the game aspect of it, the strategy of running around inside of an internal game field and vying against other people that are playing, don't get me wrong. I get the attraction. I understand why it's super fucking popular. Watch a monkey play. What's the game that he's been playing lately? The one just came out, whatever, 3?
Or no, Borderlands 3.
Borderlands 3. So I'm watching that game and I'm like, I get this. Like, I can get the attraction to this in a big way. Yeah. It doesn't attract me, but I get why people are loving this. Yeah. For me, it's the Western game. Because I'm a huge fan of fucking the Western genre in general. Like the history and movies in a big way. And they're like, so why would you want to play Red Dead 2, and Call of Juarez and so forth? And I'm like, because you have like, it's the setting, it's the scenery, and the adventure that you're on inside of that game is totally within the Western genre. And they're like, but there's games that are like that are just not set in the Old West. They're set in, I don't know, like a far off fantastical sci-fi world. And I'm like, yeah, but as soon as you take it out of that setting, the interest for me evaporates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kathy Collins is here. Hey, Kathy. Hope I'm recovering.
I forgot that was the quote on his website.
What?
If Bruce Campbell was a website, he'd be this one.
Whose website is that?
This is the guy who created the games you were just talking about.
Okay.
His name is Ben Yahtzee Croshaw. I think it's how you say his name. His nickname is Yahtzee, but he's a bit fairly more recognized name as far as like video game reviews and things go.
Yeah.
Like I said, and he just decided to try his hand at making a game one time, and it turned out. So he's got several archived on his site here. I'm going to link it to you. You should check these out.
Yeah, hit me up over on Discord with it.
Yeah, because they were super interesting. I might actually end up doing playthroughs on my channel of them because they were just that much fun, and it's been a long time since I've done them.
Ramen Noodle says that I like choice games like Telltale and Until Dawn. The Telltale games, like, I'm all over that, like a cheap suit,
Mhm.
man. Like, that just seems like the coolest thing ever. Quiz was, like, I'm always pressuring Quiz to do 40K content over on his channel. I'm like, dude, you could, like, have more subs than all of us combined. 40K shit. He's got to get on it. He's a busy man, you know. And he's like, you keep pushing me to do 40K stuff. You need to, when you get your computer, do some fucking Telltale shit. You need to stream those games. And I'm like, you think? I think anyone wants to watch me do that? It's like, you're the comic guy. I don't know.
See, you never know. You should try your hand at it and see what happens.
I mean, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? I hear you. And besides, if I'm actually playing the game and just streaming through it, hey, what's the big deal? It's not that hard. I'm down to do it. Here's the thing, though. I would stream games, but is anybody willing to put up with watching me stream games? There's the question, because it would be, you know, Neubauer with Polly.
You know, I'm surprised that people come to watch me play games. And I'll be honest, some of the times there's a running meme of Eve can't stealth. Like, I say, okay, I'm going to sneak through here, smashes the box and makes a lot of noise. Okay, I'm going to sneak through this section, opens automatic weapons fire, you know. It's a kind of a running joke with people who watch my streams now. It's just like, Eve doesn't stealth well, and there'll be moments where I'm like, hey guys, look, I stealthed good, I did it, okay, I can stealth, I promise. So I mean, even if it's just, Markiplier has millions of subscribers, like 24 25 million last I checked, and he plays games horribly, but people watch him for the entertainment value of just watching him be so terrible at a video game sometimes.
Well, see, now there is the thing. If chat is okay, because what it would be is a constant interaction between me and chat, where it would be like, Polly, for Christ's sake, you go to the left and then you go up. Fuck you guys, man. Jesus, I got it. Okay.
Exactly. And if you can tolerate that bit of frustration, I think that would be really entertaining.
And if chat could put up with me constantly telling them to fuck off, okay, I understand. Like, you know.
Well, that's why, when you go on, if you get you a Twitch channel and you pop up little rules that it says, abusing other people in chat is not okay. Abusing Polly is totally acceptable. There's literally one of my Dead by Daylight streamers that I watch. He has that. It says, you can abuse the streamer all you want, but no abusing people in chat, And it's like, okay, because he can take it. He'll just take it and it'll roll off his back, or he'll tease you right back, one or the other,
Right.
And he's a gigantic shitlord. I mean, he ended one of his streams by actually had people scared that he had rage quit and just given up because he'd failed something in the game, and he just gets to look like he's just totally frustrated, and then just kills the stream. No outro, no nothing, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, is he really gone?" And he was like, "No, no, dude, I'm just fucking around with y'all."
It's really great. Okay, Midnight in Exile asks, are there 40k games that aren't just StarCraft? Eve, fill me in. Is that like an inside reference joke, or is there a game that's just lifted off of StarCraft that's 40k? What's going on there?
Well, the problem is the StarCraft was supposed to be a 40k game, but that's a whole nother can of worms.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually originally designed to be because if you look at it really closely, the Terrans are the Space Marines, the Zerg are the Tyranids,
right?
The Protoss are the Eldar. And there's so many similarities, it's not even funny, but they'd actually commissioned Blizzard to make a 40k game and scrapped it, and Blizzard's like, we got all this shit, all we do is change the names and some of the statistics and stuff like that and just make it look a little bit different, and then they have their own franchise. But I think what he means is that they're not like role RTSs.
Okay.
Like real-time strategy games.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's Warhammer 40k Space Marine. It's a good one. There's a few of them that are smaller strategy games that are less mass battles and more like you command a small elite group of troopers going through and there's one that's like Space Hulk, I think it is. So there's a few of them out there that are not strategy games. But the person to really ask would be Inquisitor. He'll be able to quote them all off to you because he's played.
Oh yeah, and
so
see, it's like
got him one of them a while back.
Ramen asks like, "What's 40k?" And then Xbox says Warhammer 40k, and it's this is what I'm trying to tell Quiz. I'm like, man, 40k gets talked about all the time, and people don't know that it's like it's a fictional setting that's future sci-fi fantasy. Would be a
dystopian future type of thing.
Yeah, and it's largely tabletop gaming with miniatures, but then there's also video games and books and animated shorts and like it's a really popular fictional setting that there's all of these things that go on in and around it, and it's huge. You know what I mean? And there's a fuck ton of lore with it, and Quiz knows it all, or at least has a very, very good sense of it, I should say. He's read the books and he's been fucking with it forever, and he paints the minis and plays the game. And the video games as well. So when I say you should put up 40k content, I'm like, man, there's people out there that want noob level videos. What the hell is 40k? And it's a 5-minute video. Nothing more than 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Where you just run it down in the simplest, most straightforward terms. You know, there's a whole side of YouTube that's into Star Trek, and I'm heavy duty a Star Trek fan. But I'm also smart enough to know that people around here don't want to hear about it. You know what I mean? This gamers ain't no Star Trek fans, at least not generally. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you got
space opera, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, weird religious, spiritual elements to it, like that. There's supernatural stuff going on, kind of with the warp, and I'm sure Quiz is somewhere contorting and cringing in his sleep that I'm describing it so badly.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole space opera thing is not wrong. What are you posting in chat, Zelthor? What is this video? Oh, you little bitch. Don't click that link.
See, Expo Hopetep says, if Quiz made lore videos of 40K, he'd watch the shit out of them. There's
What we've been trying to tell him.
That's exactly what we've been trying to tell him. Like real brief primer ones, much more complicated ones, put them into playlists that are organized along that way. Who's comfortable in front of a microphone? You got somebody like Arch Warhammer, Sargon's stream buddy, right? He's got lore videos, but that's deep 40K lore. Like he's on. You better already know what's going on if you tune into that guy's shit. And the video's like 25 minutes long and him just talking. He's got a fantastic narrator's voice to talk about all that shit, but Jesus Christ, it's beyond me. I tried watching some of those videos and I like the more basic introductory ones, but most of that lore is way too beyond me. It's like, Eve, do you want to hear me expound upon the early Terran Romulan Star Empire War and all the details and territorial arguments that came out of it that led right on into the TNG era of the 24th century? You don't want to hear about any of this, do you?
Still do the videos. Like seriously, somebody would watch them, and even if it didn't, even if the people that don't normally watch your stuff, wouldn't watch them, it would still attract a crowd.
I don't know, man. I worry about veering off of content. I lose subs every time I post one of those screw tape letter reads. I've got one finished right now. It's ready to upload. Another screw tape, chapter 4. And I sit there and I think, I don't know. Like I finished it on what? It was before I had that the bout of vertigo and before I fell. That was like would have been Monday or Tuesday. I finished rendering it. And I didn't upload it because I'm so close to 800 subs. I'm like, if I upload this, I'm going to lose like 5-10 subs, man. And I'm so close to 800. My channel's so scattershot. It's got such different stuff on it that that's something Bear keeps talking about. He goes, your content is confused.
Kathy Collins has some very strong opinions. Screw them. That is art. I think she's talking about your screw tape letters.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. I have a lot of fun doing them. That's a longtime favorite book of mine. And I told Eve earlier in Discord, I did a live read out of a chapter out of Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho today.
I'm so excited for that.
Well, I mean, talk about different, going from C.S. Lewis's brilliant insights into theology told in this fantastic fictional way to Bret Easton Ellis's writing. I don't know what to. I'm a big fan of Ellis. I think he's fucking brilliant, but I don't know if people want to hear me read in the voice of Patrick Bateman. I know you do, Eve. You said so, but
oh no, because I mean, like I said, there was a period where we were over on a friend's server, and Polly had been reading through the book, or rereading through the book, I think, because she'd read it before. And you were just going through and taking excerpts from the book and reading them to us there in Discord. And we would all just sit in an enraptured silence listening to Polly narrate this. And if any of you have listened to how he reads the chapters from Screw Tape Letters, it's just, he puts such passion into the words on the page and really embodies the character reading it, when you're reading it. So I really... When you talked about how you really got into character with Patrick Bateman sitting there just naming off all the things in the store, the different pieces of clothing and stuff, and how he just knew them all by heart and was just rattling them off. And I was really excited to hear that because you get so into character with it, and it's amazing to me. I'm like, seriously, somebody should pay you to do narration on books because...
Hey, chat, when she says enraptured attention, that means fell into silence, ignored her headphones, and played the video game. It's fine. I appreciate the words nonetheless. It's fine.
Wow.
I'm just bugging you. I appreciate it. Actually,
do it. I love that book. See?
I'm sorry?
Wolfie says, do it. I love that book. Manic says, I love listening to Polly read. I know, right?
You all are too kind to the bartender. I appreciate it. I love how Zelthor is shit posted in chat. But it's okay. He's posted Captain America shit posts, so it works for me.
A terrible idea.
Hold on there. Microphone just dropped, or headphones just dropped out for me. I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
BG suggests you might want to make a second channel for your reads. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. That way, if you're worried about losing content on your comic book channel,
Yeah.
there's places people can go. You can say, hey, if you guys are interested in these live reads, you can go over here and look. Zelthor, if you post Despacito one more time. Is this another version of Despacito? Oh, shit. He's posting memes now.
Real Midnight in Exile says, I'll duel you with Rules of Attraction. I'm not sure what you mean by duel me with it, but Rules of Attraction is my favorite Ellis book of all. I think it's by far the most underrated one. Everybody talks about American Psycho. It's the big one, or Less Than Zero, but Rules of Attraction is by far my favorite. That's the one, Eve, where it's every chapter is from a different college, well, a number of different college students' perspectives. That, one chapter is one guy, Sean Bateman, Patrick's younger brother, and it's all taking place at Camden College. Remember this one? Vaguely, no? Okay.
I know it, but because you told me all about it. Midnight says you equals Patrick, me equals Sean. Maybe that would work out for y'all. I don't know what Midnight in Exile sounds like, but maybe y'all could get together and an audio, like not a narrate. What do you call it when it's like the things they used to do back in the day where they did the audio dramas,
right?
But where it has like sound effects and actual conversations instead of like just a person reading the book. It's actually like acted out.
Yeah, Patrick Bateman is in one chapter of Rules of Attraction, but only the one, and it's mostly about how much he detests his younger brother. Sean Bateman. The thing about Rules of Attraction that kills me is that none of them are likable. None of them. They're all terrible people who do terrible things to each other, and not in the sense of like killing each other. I just mean they're backstabbers and they have awful thoughts about each other, and none of them really seem to like each other or like themselves. But you can empathize with them all. They all seem very, very real. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I remember doing something along those lines, like that kind of stuff. Ellis writes extremely complex characters, and it comes through very well in Rules of Attraction. Like Paul is a very memorable character. He's such a manipulative, lying son of a bitch, but there's something very empathetic about him at the same time, where you want him to win and succeed, and it's like, wait a minute, why am I cheering this guy on? He's an asshole. It's interesting. Let me see. Zelther says, wait, dude, don't you already have a second channel with audio of when we read fan fiction? Yeah, there is a channel out there called Ollie Streams, I think. And it's got, oh man, I think 2 of the live reads that we did of that bad Twilight fan fiction. I think that's all that's up there that I ever ended up uploading. I haven't gone back to check to see if that channel still exists. It might have got yeeted. Like YouTube just killed it because it was a dead channel that somebody had avoided for too long, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have really got to take this compression bandage off my knee. It's been on too long, and
Oh.
What?
You're gonna end, aren't you?
Well, yes. I'm doing this kind of like, I'm not sitting up. I'm doing this laying down thing so I can have my left leg is the one that I twisted the knee on, so I can't sit here.
I'm arguing with you, and I've been, including this stream, I've been streaming for 11 and a half hours today. So.
Oh, fair enough. But I just mean like I have to have my legs straightened out because it's got one of them wraparound compression bandages on it, and so I'm sitting at a weird sideways 45-degree half laying down angle, and it's time to not be like this anymore. My back's killing.
Yeah. Well, folks, it seems that Mr. Dub is just ready to close up the bar for the night.
Yes.
Last call. Everyone get your drinks. You don't have to go home, but you can stay here.
That's right. And don't make me call the bouncer. Corn Pop gets angry when people don't leave too soon. Eve, did I tell you that? We hired Corn Pop as a bouncer.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's a bad dude. He roughed up Joe Biden back in the day, man. You don't fuck with Corn Pop. He doesn't do that straight razors kept in the rain barrel anymore because Joe Biden ratted them out to the cops, so they can't. They're still good to go. Mr. Monopoly says, I can't find your second channel. Yeah, like I said, YouTube might have yeeted it because it's been so long since I signed into it. I don't know. Pop-Tart says, night, y'all. Okay, Poppy, have a good night. Thanks for coming. And thank you indeed for everyone coming. And thank you very much to everybody who tipped the bartender. I kid you not that it is greatly and sincerely appreciated, especially after the new swath of medical bills I managed to pull in because vertigo's a bitch, y'all.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, it will. I wish I hadn't had the specialist do the neurological tests on me. It would have been, well, far cheaper.
Like you said, wave the pen in front of your face. If anybody knows calligraphy, by the way, seriously, I'll pay good money for a fake degree of like neurology or something. Be like, yeah, sure, I know how to do this. Specialist shit. Wave a pen in someone's face. Okay. Oh, you want me to do brain surgery? Hey, I've got a vacation coming up. You can get somebody else to do it. Sorry.
There it is. And thank you very much to Chaos Eve for keeping me company at the bar. And Eve, by the way, hit me up inside chat with your channel link, and I will include it in the description. I forgot to ask you about that before. But everyone who watches in the future will be able to see your stuff in the chat, or in the description.
Oh, I'll drop them in chat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, shill yourself in chat by all means. Zelthor's shilling shit posting out there. You might as well shill something. Quality.
And then side chat here on Hangouts.
Monopoly says check Twitter. I'll send you. Yeah, I will. I'll probably check Twitter after I get myself together here. Holy shit! Look at that.
That's my list.
Yeah, yes, it is. That is
I told you, I keep it in a note.
Whew, someone's prepared.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Minions. Those are the places you can find me, folks. A little less on Minions lately, but you know, I intend to change that at some point because I'm usually a backup host over there, and it seems that the other backup hosts are like, "Nah, I got it." I'm like, "Okay." We about to fight. What we about to fight about, Zelthor?
All right, like I said, I'm closing it down. Everyone's finished off their last few sips, and so the doors are getting shut. Thanks for coming, everybody, and thank you once again to everyone who donated. It is sincerely appreciated. Have a good night, and I'm sure we'll see you all again soon here at Polly's Noir Bar. Night, all.
Not everyone.